I was just an ordinary guy fixing e-bikes for a living. Then one client hit me with an insane order, weld a 5-meter-tall Gundam Mecha, and I had only 2 days to finish it. He said it was for his grandfather's birthday banquet, the ultimate birthday gift. But the truth was, he only wanted a 50-centimeter model. He had simply typed 1 extra 0, and I had no idea. All I knew was that building a 5-meter mecha in 2 days was nearly impossible, but the payment was too tempting to refuse. So I worked like a madman day and night, and finally, 2 hours before the banquet, I finished the exact Gundam mecha he had asked for. Lin Mo crouched on a concrete floor slick with oil, gripping a chipped wrench in his hand, staring gloomily at an e-bike, whose only functioning parts were 2 spinning wheels. Lin, these brake pads are worn thin as paper. Find me a way to fix this. Replacing them isn't worth the cost. The owner was a middle-aged delivery driver, glancing anxiously at the order countdown on his phone. Uncle, it's not just the pads. The brake discs are all grooved. I'll weld a patch on for you. It'll hold for 3 days. After that, you absolutely have to replace them. Otherwise, you'll have to use your feet to stop. Lin Mo didn't even wear his goggles, pushing them up onto his forehead, revealing eyes bloodshot from chronic sleeplessness, yet piercingly clear. Fine. As long as it runs today.
Lin Montagszeit.
Skillfully igniting the acetylene torch, a blue flame suddenly surged, illuminating his soot-covered face. He was 24, a college dropout, unable to afford tuition, and finding the school's theories too slow, he quit to take over this junk shop. In Zhonghai, a city paved with gold, he lived like a joke, but he knew one thing. If something made of metal fell into his hands, there was nothing he couldn't fix. Sometimes he could even hear the metal breathing. Just as the torch touched the metal, the cracked phone on the toolbox suddenly vibrated. Lin Mo ignored it, continuing his work. The weld seam was smooth as a mirror, forming a perfect fish scale pattern. Using this skill on e-bikes was a complete waste of talent. The phone rang twice more. Lin Mo cut the flame, pulled off his gloves, and wiped his hands on his greasy work pants. He picked up the phone. Notification popped up on the screen. Received 500,000 yuan. Lin Mo's hand trembled, nearly dropping the phone into a waste oil drum. He blinked, counting the zeros 3 times. 500,000. It wasn't a scam text. It was a real balance change. Then, a call came from an unknown number. The background on the other end was noisy, with the faint sound of high heels clicking on marble floors and a woman speaking with suppressed agitation. Is this Master Lin from Galaxy Repairs?
Em Suching.
Lin Mo swallowed hard, his throat dry. Yes. Did you send the money to the wrong person? I don't take deposits this large for bike repairs, and I can't even make change for that. It's not a mistake. I saw your records on the app. I saw your order history. You're the only one with a 5.0 rating who takes rush orders. Did you receive the blueprints I sent? Lin Mo opened and found an unread file sent a few minutes ago. File name: Grandfather's 70th birthday, Mecha model 80. I need this finished within 48 hours. The remaining balance is another 500,000. Once it passes inspection, it'll be paid immediately. 1 million. Lin Mo felt the veins in his head about to burst. His junk shop's annual turnover was barely 100,000. 1 million was enough to buy this shack, renovate it 3 times over, and buy 2 tons of titanium alloy to practice with. Miss Su, this is for a model? Lin Mo opened the file. It was a highly detailed mecha design, with a hardcore sci-fi style and a complex structure. Clearly, it was commissioned from a professional artist. For the model, I only need the exterior to be accurate. The details must be realistic. Absolutely realistic. My grandfather is an expert. He can tell the quality at a glance. The previous studios only made plastic trash. I canceled their orders. Can you do it? Lin Mo took a deep breath, his eyes falling on the parameters in the bottom right corner. Scale 11. Height 5,000 millimeters.
Lin Mo's pupils suddenly contracted.
5,000 millimeters. He looked up at his surroundings. The roof of this shanty was only about 6 meters high. Ms. Su, are you sure about these dimensions? Lin Mo asked tentatively. 5,000 millimeters. This isn't something you just put on a desk. On the other end, Su Qing was clearly preoccupied. Her words came out in a rapid fire. Of course I am. Every parameter must follow the blueprints. Size, shape, paint, everything must be identical. I know time is tight. That's why I'm paying double. You choose the materials. It needs to look high-end. Don't try to fool me with cheap-looking plastic. Remember, you only have 2 days. The day after tomorrow, 6 p.m. It must be delivered to Cloud Top Manor in Nanshan District. The call ended. Lin Mo stood in his dim workshop, phone in hand, surrounded by mountains of scrap tires and rusted gears. The setting sun streamed through the broken window onto his face, stretching his shadow long across the floor. A 5-meter-tall model. He scrutinized the blueprint once more. For a standard custom model, even the wealthiest clients usually go for something 50 centimeters or a 1-meter figure. 5 meters? This is a fucking sculpture. Lin Mo's professional instinct made him immediately notice something strange about the blueprints. Though labeled as a model, the mechanical support points of the internal structure were designed with extreme precision and complexity. If it were just for aesthetics, there would be no need for such a complex internal skeleton. The designer was clearly an expert, or had directly copied the blueprints of some real heavy machinery. 500,000 deposit. 500,000 final payment. 2 days. He took a deep drag of the acrid smoke, letting it swirl in his lungs to calm his nerves. Taking this job was a suicide mission. Turning it down would be idiocy. Building a 5-meter shell in 2 days and making it look high-end. Lin Mo exhaled a ring of smoke. A manic glint began to flicker in his eyes. If she wants quality, then twigs and foam won't cut it. It has to be steel. He glanced toward the corner, at his modified plasma cutter. A crazed smile curled on his lips. Since the client wants it exactly the same, she can't blame me for overdoing it. Meanwhile, in the penthouse office of the Su Group, Zhonghai CBD, Su Qing hung up the phone, rubbing her temples in exhaustion. She wore a Chanel haute couture suit, but it couldn't hide the anxiety etched on her face. Sister Qing, is it settled? Assistant Xiao Zhang carefully brought over a cup of coffee. Settled. I found a master craftsman in the old district. I hope he's reliable.
Shuin Said.
The previous studios were useless. Their work looked like plastic toys. Grandfather will kill me if he sees that. This time, I specifically found someone to follow the leaked concept art of the Crimson Storm from the war zone. I've revised the version. It has to be breathtaking, but Xiao Zhang hesitated. Aren't the parameters we gave a bit? 5,000 millimeters. Su Qing glanced impatiently at the document. What's wrong with 5,000 millimeters? It's 50 centimeters, right? I've checked the ruler. It'll fit perfectly on grandfather's desk. Xiao Zhang opened his mouth, wanting to remind his boss that 5,000 millimeters is 5 meters, not 50 centimeters. But seeing Su Qing on the verge of a breakdown, and with the company reeling from competitor attacks, he was completely overwhelmed. In the end, he swallowed his words. Maybe the boss wanted a giant one for the garden. Su Qing had no idea that her impulsive actions and that fatal extra zero were about to trigger a massive storm in this city. In this parallel world, a slip of Su Qing's finger, combined with Lin Mo's stubbornness, the gears of fate didn't just start turning. They slammed into 5th gear and burned the clutch red hot. Night fell. A rainstorm was imminent. The scrap metal yard in the northern suburbs of Zhonghai, a graveyard for machinery, a massive crane magnet circled in the air, snatching up twisted steel like a vulture. A beat-up pickup truck, rattling in every way but its horn, roared into the scrapyard, screeching to a halt. A sudden brake,
Halt.
stopping beside a pile of scrap excavators. Old Wang opens the door. A big deal has arrived. Lin Mo jumps out of the car, rain mixed with engine oil, instantly soaking his hair. Old Wang, the gatekeeper, draped in a military overcoat, squinting to see who it was. Lin the madman, what the hell are you doing in the middle of the night? Looking for more junk? Not junk. Lin Mo tosses over a pack of Chunghwa cigarettes, bought with the deposit he just received. He didn't mind spending it now. I want the hydraulic arm of that scrapped Caterpillar excavator, and the one you took back last month. The chassis frame of that retired heavy truck. Oh right, that high-pressure turbine fan brought back from the shipyard. Is it still here? Old Wang catches the cigarettes and freezes for a moment. They're all here, but it's all just scrap. What are you planning? Smelting steel. making a gift,
Lin Montag grins.
revealing a row of white teeth, looking eerily sinister in the stormy night. A birthday gift for a big shot. 3 hours later, Galaxy Repair Shop. Lin Mo is shirtless, revealing lean, well-defined muscles, wearing a heavy welding mask, the industrial welding torch in his hand, spitting out a blinding blue-white flame. A 5,000 millimeters blueprint is pasted on the wall, covered in dents, mechanical formulas he had just calculated. Ordinary models just need a frame for a shell. That's just for fooling people. As Lin Mo welds the chassis, he frantically constructs a 3D model in his mind. In his vision, the scrap steel seems to come alive. The excavator's hydraulic arm is no longer scrap, but the main load-bearing structure of the Mecha's legs. The heavy truck's chassis is cut and reorganized, becoming the Mecha's ribcage. That high-pressure turbine fan is stuffed into the Mecha's back, serving as a simulated thruster. The client said, "It has to be realistic." Lin Mo stares at the Mecha's knee joint. The blueprint shows a complex spherical joint. If it's just welded shut, it won't move at all. Then it's just a sculpture.
Lin Montag frowns.
His OCD kicks in. If I'm paid this much and it can't even move, that would ruin my reputation. He drops the welding torch, turns and starts rummaging through a pile of junk. He finds a set of servo motors. He scavenged these last year from a bankrupt automation factory, brought them back, originally planned to fix and resell them. Now they're all being put to use. He connects the motors in series with the excavator's hydraulic system, then begins writing the control program. For an ordinary person, this would be an impossible task, but in Lin Mo's eyes, the traces on the circuit board are as clear as city streets. It doesn't need complex debugging. Using only a multimeter and a nearly dead laptop, he begins to breathe soul into the steel beast. Time ticks away. On the first night, the lower body frame of the Mecha is completed. Those thick steel legs are full of industrial brutalist beauty. Every extension and retraction of the hydraulic rods is accompanied by a teeth-gritting screech of metal friction. The next morning, Lin Mo's eyes are bloodshot, but he feels no sleepiness. The upper body needs a cockpit. The blueprint shows the cockpit can open. It even includes a dashboard. If I'm going for realism, then it must be able to fit a person. Lin Mo grits his teeth, rips out the seat from a scrapped van, gives it a leather wrap, actually modified from an old leather jacket, then stuffs it into the Mecha's chest cavity. To make the dashboard look authentic, he strips a dozen old phones and tablets, embedding the screens into the cockpit's console. He also writes a simple UI interface. The screen is filled with scrolling code and radar scans. Though it has no actual function, it looks absolutely intimidating. It still needs a power source. He can't build actual nuclear power, but he's a welder and an electrician. He takes every single, colossal golden cudgel grade lithium battery pack, connects them in series, hiding them under the Mecha's back armor. Another message from Su Qing.
Suin, Master Lin.
How's the progress? Remember, the color needs to be a high-texture, battle-worn red, and it must look imposing. I see some weapons mounted on the blueprints. Can you add some special effects? Even just some smoke or glowing lights would work. Lin Mo looked at his phone, wiping the grease and soot off his face. Effects? Weapons? He glanced at 2 pipes beside him. Seamless steel pipes originally meant for exhaust. Fine, the customer is king. He modified the pipes to look like railguns, then stuffed 2 high-pressure magnesium rods inside, along with smoke generators. Once this thing is powered up, it might not kill anyone, but the light and sound will be more real than any Hollywood effect. Finally, the outer armor. Lin Mo had no professional molds, but he had a hammer and hands like a god. 48 hours without sleep. Lin Mo downed 12 cans of Red Bull, smoked 5 packs of cigarettes. Finally, 2 hours before the deadline, Lin Mo dropped the last piece of sandpaper, collapsing onto the floor in total exhaustion. Before him stood a 5-meter-tall behemoth. The crimson armor, under the dim lights, emitted a cold, blood-red glow. Thick mechanical legs gripped the ground firmly. The turbine thrusters on the back were silent, yet seemed ready to blast flames at any moment. The cockpit canopy reflected Lin Mo's exhausted face. Those cold electronic eyes were actually 2 modified car headlights, currently switched off. This isn't a model. This is a sleeping beast of steel. This thing, Lin Mo looked up, his neck aching. Did I make it a bit too real? He stood up, patting the Mecha. The cold leg armor let out a dull thud. That sense of weight was something resin or plastic could never match. Oh crap. Lin Mo suddenly realized a serious problem. He looked around. The Mecha seemed half a meter taller than his door. Can't get out. Just then, the roar of a heavy truck echoed from outside. Ah, that's the tow truck, he called. Boss Lin, the truck's here. Where's the cargo? The driver shouted. Lin Mo glanced at the 4-meter rolling shutter door, then at the 5-meter Mecha, finally at his phone, the final payment of 500,000 about to arrive. His eyes sharpened. He grabbed the plasma cutter nearby and strode toward his own roof, tearing down the house for money. 10 minutes later, accompanied by the screeching sound of tearing metal and the corrugated steel sheets of the workshop, the roof was ripped wide open. A massive crane arm slowly descended, hooking onto the lifting ring on the Mecha's back. As the cable tightened, it let out a series of creaks. The red Mecha slowly lifted off the ground, hovering in mid-air. Moonlight hit the armor, a masterpiece of violent aesthetics, like the descent of a god of war. A few people heading home late passed by the alley. They were completely stunned. Holy damn! What is that? A transformer? Are they filming a movie? Lin Mo stood in his ruined workshop, still holding the tool he used to cut the roof. He yelled at the crane operator, "Be careful! Don't bump it! If this thing falls, it'll shake the foundations of this whole block to pieces." The driver flinched in fear. The Mecha swayed in the air. One mechanical arm accidentally grazed a street lamp post. The steel pole, thick as a bowl, like a crispy cracker, was snapped clean by the mechanical arm. Sparks flew everywhere. Lin Mo quickly pulled out his phone and sent a WeChat message to Su Qing. "Ms. Su, the cargo has shipped. To maintain the mystery, I've wrapped it in 5 layers of red cloth. Also, this thing is quite heavy. You'd better have the manor reinforce its foundations." After sending the message, Lin Mo looked at the heavy flatbed truck, whose tires were pressed halfway flat by the weight of the Mecha. A sudden wave of intense anxiety washed over him. Nothing should go wrong, right? He comforted himself. It's just a model, after all. There's no live ammunition inside. At most, it's just a bit heavy, a bit hard, and the power is a bit too intense. No problem. At that moment, he had no idea that this Mecha, which he named Birthday Wish Number 1, was about to turn the Su family's birthday bash, originally meant for showing off wealth, into a global military exercise scene that would shock the world. Zhonghai City at 4 a.m., like a giant beast that had just fallen asleep. Only the yellow lights of street sweepers flicker through the mist. But on the elevated bridge leading to Nanshan District, an 18-wheeler heavy-duty flatbed trailer is letting out an overburdened roar. Damn it, this is insane. Driver Lu grips the steering wheel tight. His palms are drenched in sweat. He's been driving big rigs for 20 years. Hauled machine tools, hauled marble, even hauled tanks. But he's never felt this uncertain in his life. On the flatbed behind him, that thing wrapped in 5 layers of thickened red canvas. Wrapped tight and secure. Looks like a moving mountain. By the looks of its size, it's only about the size of a large excavator. But this weight, old Lu glances at the dashboard. The RPMs have already spiked into the red zone. The water temperature is climbing rapidly. "Boss, you call this a model?" Old Lu yells into the walkie-talkie, his voice sounding desperate. "This is a damn solid block of iron, isn't it? My suspension plates are about to be flattened." Lin Mo's calm voice comes through the radio, accompanied by the whistling wind. He's riding his modified electric scooter, following the truck at a leisurely pace. "Steady on, Master Lu. It's a piece of art. To prevent wind resistance, I just weighted the base a little. Don't brake suddenly. It has a high center of gravity. High inertia." Lin Mo wears his helmet, eyes locked on a massive red shape ahead. Actually, he's nervous too. This Mecha, or as he calls it, a model, weighs a net total of 28 tons. And that's only because he rushed the deadline and used aluminum alloy for non-load-bearing parts. If it were all steel, this truck would have broken down long ago. To prevent wind resistance, weighted it a little. Old Lu rolls his eyes in the cab. "Your idea of windproofing is dozens of tons. The iron truck roars off the overpass. Entering Nanshan district, the road conditions change. The asphalt is polished and black. No more dilapidated shops on the roadsides, but perfectly trimmed French plane trees. Cloudtop Manor is the most elite neighborhood in Zhonghai. If someone here stomps their foot, the city's entire economy would tremble. Lin Mo rides his scooter, looking at the increasingly luxurious scenery, but he only thinks of one thing. Once this deal is closed, his repair shop can finally turn things around. He could even install a decent air conditioner, so he wouldn't have to work shirtless in the summer. Cloudtop Manor, the Su family villa. Servants are trimming the lawn, arranging fresh flowers. The massive banquet hall features floor-to-ceiling glass, offering a direct view of the distant ocean. Su Qing stands on the second-floor balcony, clutching her phone in her hand. Su Qing is still waiting for that piece of junk model. A voice comes from behind her. Wang Yu, dressed in silk pajamas, holding a glass of expensive Evian water, with that signature look on her face. A fake smile that makes you want to slap her. Stay out of my business,
Suin replies coldly.
without even looking back. Hee. I don't want to interfere, but you know how Grandpa's temper is. Wang Yu walks to the railing, watching the busy servants below. For this 70th birthday celebration, Uncle Chun from the military district is coming. Grandpa values sincerity and craftsmanship above all. I used my connections from the UK to get the latest exoskeleton combat armor. Though the model is only 10 centimeters tall, it's a 1:1 scale reduction of current special forces gear, shrunk down precisely, full metal casting. Even the joints are articulated. Wang Yu pauses on purpose, looking at Su Qing with a gaze of pity. I heard you hired some e-bike repairman to make yours, and you wanted it to be 5 meters tall? 5 meters tall? Su Qing, have you lost your mind? 5 meters of styrofoam. Are you trying to give Grandpa a heart attack?
Su Hing biteserlip.
Feeling a wave of insecurity. She really was desperate, although that Lin Mo has high ratings. He's just a guy working in a repair shop. What if it's just a giant thing made of paper? Or a tin shell with cheap paint? She didn't dare imagine the scene. Just then, on the mountain road in the distance, a low rumble suddenly echoed, a thunderous roar of an engine, not the high-pitched scream of a sports car, but a sound brimming with raw power, and an oppressive roar. The ground seemed to vibrate with every beat. What is that sound? Wang Yu frowned. Su Qing looked up abruptly. At the end of the estate gates, a massive heavy-duty flatbed truck slowly rounded the bend. It was enormous. Even on the wide estate drive, the truck looked almost too large. But what truly captured the eye was on the truck bed, a behemoth wrapped in crimson canvas. The red cloth snapped in the morning breeze, outlining the sharp contours beneath. As the truck drew closer, an inexplicable sense of pressure washed over them. Wang Yu's water glass trembled. Water splashed out. My gift has arrived. Su Qing took a deep breath, though she was terrified inside, but she couldn't let it show. It seems Master Lin is right on time. At that moment, the security team at the gate was in total chaos. Stop. This is a private estate. Heavy trucks are prohibited. The security captain waved his arms, blowing his whistle frantically. The truck let out a long, hissing brake sound, coming to a halt at the gate. The massive tires were nearly half the height of a guard, radiating waves of intense heat. The door opened. Old Lu jumped down, his legs still feeling a bit shaky. Lin Mo, riding a sticker-covered electric scooter, zipped right in front of the truck. He took off his helmet, revealing a face that was tired, yet still handsome. Hello, I'm here for the delivery. Lin Mo pulled out from his pocket a crumpled delivery slip, a large shipment for Miss Su Qing. The captain looked at the 5-meter-high red bundle. His Adam's apple bobbed. What on earth is this thing? A model, Lin Mo said seriously. For a birthday celebration, please open the gate. This can't be left in the rain or sun. We need to unload it quickly. The captain looked at Lin Mo with suspicion, taking in his oil-stained work clothes. Then he looked at the thing again, which looked exactly like an illegal structure. This behemoth. You're sure it's a model? Why does it look like an illegal building? It really is a model, Lin Mo explained patiently, while patting the truck's tire. It's just a bit heavy. By the way, Are your floor tiles sturdy? If they crack, I'm not responsible for the damages. Just then, Su Qing, in her high heels, lifting her dress, ran breathlessly to the gate. Let him in. Su Qing looked at the massive red bundle. Her heart skipped a beat. It was too bigger than she imagined from the blueprints. On paper, this scale is just data. In person, it is pure shock. She could even feel it. The cold, metallic chill emanating from beneath the cloth. Miss Su, mission accomplished. Seeing Suin, Lin Mo gave his signature brilliant smile. I worked through the night on the paint, but to be safe, this red cloth should stay on until the ceremony begins. To keep the mystery? Actually, Lin Mo was afraid the paint wasn't dry and would gather dust. But to Su Qing, this sounded like absolute confidence. Su Qing looked into Lin Mo's bloodshot eyes. A sudden, inexplicable trust surged within her. Though this man looked disheveled, he possessed an indescribable certainty. Open the gate. Let them drive the truck to the lawn in front of the main building. Miss, that lawn is the master's favorite. The security captain tried to persuade her. If it's ruined, I'll pay for it. Open it. As the electric iron gates slowly opened, the heavy truck let out a roar, carrying that mysterious behemoth. It slowly entered Cloud Peak Manor. Following behind, Wang Yu stared at the massive silhouette. She grit her teeth and sneered, all this theatrics, what's the point of making it so big? When the cloth comes off, I can't wait to see how you handle the fallout. If even a single spot of paint is uneven, grandfather will scream you out of here. Lin Mo put his helmet back on, riding his scooter behind the truck. As he passed by Wang Yu, he suddenly stopped and looked Wang Yu up and down. What are you looking at? Stinking grease monkey. Wang Yu stepped back in disgust. It's nothing. Lin Mo shrugged. Just a heads up. Stay far away in a bit. This thing has a powerful aura. It might hurt someone. With that, he twisted the throttle. The electric scooter zipped away cheerfully. Wang Yu stamped her feet in rage.
10 Uhr AM.
Cloud Peak Manor became a sea of celebrities. Luxury cars worth millions filled the parking lot. But everyone's gaze drifted, consciously or unconsciously, toward the villa. On the open ground in front of the main building sat a massive object wrapped in red cloth. This rugged silhouette and towering height clashed with the exquisite European architecture. Yet it possessed a savage allure. What is that? I heard the Su family's second daughter sent a gift this big. Could it be a fake mountain? Looks more like a bouncy castle to me. The guests' whispers rose and fell. By now, Lin Mo had finished unloading the vehicle, but he didn't leave. Su Qing asked him to stay, saying that if there were any assembly issues, it would be easier to adjust. In truth, Su Qing was unsure of herself. She wanted someone to take the fall. Lin Mo was currently crouching in a corner of the buffet area, holding a plate of Australian lobster and black truffle cake, eating with great relish. Rich people's food really is different. This lobster meat is thicker than my welding rods, Lin Mo commented while eating. Just then, the main hall suddenly fell silent. A group of men in black suits entered, surrounding two elderly men. The one on the left wore a tang suit. He looked spirited, his gaze sharp as lightning. He was today's guest of honor, the titan of the mechanical field, Su Jinhai. And the one on the right wore a faded, old military uniform. Though he wore no epaulets, the innate aura of blood and iron made the guests instinctively step back. The military research heavyweight, Chun Jiangwo. Lin Mo swallowed the cake in his mouth. His eyes narrowed slightly. He had seen this old man on TV. Heard he was a technical fanatic even more stubborn than himself. Looks like the inspection standards will be sky high today. Lin Mo wiped his mouth. He glanced at the red-wrapped object outside. I hope this old man can handle my manual transmission design. Inside the banquet hall, the crystal chandeliers cast a soft, opulent glow. But for Su Jinhai and Chun Jiangwo, this kind of occasion was clearly uncomfortable. They held wine glasses but didn't take a single sip. Instead, they retreated to a quiet corner of the terrace. Old Chun, what's the situation in the north? Su Jinhai lowered his voice, his brow furrowed. Chun Jiangwo sighed. On his weather-beaten face appeared a trace of unmistakable exhaustion. Not optimistic. The latest exoskeleton tech from the west has broken through. Their single-soldier load capacity has tripled. And the response latency of the 4V motor has dropped below 20 milliseconds. He shook his head. His fingers gripped the wine glass tightly. Our Xuanwu exoskeleton's power source is still insufficient. The battery density isn't high enough. Carrying a massive battery pack makes the soldiers as clumsy as penguins. They'd be sitting ducks on the battlefield. Plus, the hydraulic transmission efficiency is too low. It lacks that seamless man-machine integration. Su Jinhai's expression was equally grave. Energy and transmission. Those are the two great mountains of the mechanical field. I'm leading a team to tackle it too. But, as you know, when it comes to basic materials science, it's not something that can be caught up in a day. I came this time, not only to celebrate your birthday, but also to see if the Su group has any new talent or technical reserves. Chun Jiangwo looked at the distant sea. His gaze was deep. Old Su, we don't have much time left. Once their technology is fully deployed, the pressure on the border will be immense. The two fell silent. The atmosphere was as heavy as lead. Just then, a coquettish voice broke the deadlock. Grandpa, Uncle Chun. Wang Yu fluttered over like a colorful butterfly, holding an exquisite red sandalwood box. Yeah. Su Jinhai brushed away his worries. He forced a slight smile. Grandpa, may your happiness be as vast as the eastern sea, and your life as long as the southern mountain. Wang Yu smiled sweetly as she handed over the box. This is a gift I specially prepared for you. I'm sure you'll love it. Su Jinhai opened the box. On the black velvet lining lay a silver-gray mechanical model. Though only the size of a palm, the craftsmanship was exquisite. Every joint was connected with miniature screws, and even the hydraulic lines on the back were perfectly replicated. Chun Jiangwo's eyes lit up. He leaned in closer. This is a model of the Raptor exoskeleton from the States. Uncle Chun, you have a keen eye. Wang Yu lifted her chin smugly, not forgetting to glance nearby at Su Qing, who was sitting on pins and needles. I asked a friend to get this limited edition model from a military lab in the States. It's not just the appearance. Its internal structure is also a perfect scale replica of the original blueprints. Grandpa, you can check out the knee joint design. That multi-axis linkage structure is something we still can't produce domestically. As soon as she said this, Chun Jiangwo's expression darkened slightly. Though Wang Yu was telling the truth, it sounded particularly grating in this setting. Su Jinhai, however, wasn't angry. He put on his reading glasses, picked up the model, and examined it closely, even fiddling with the joints. Indeed exquisite. The damping of this spherical joint is well done. Look, there's absolutely no play in it. Our machining precision still has a gap. Chun Jiangwo looked at the model with a hint of envy. Although it was just a model, the industrial standard behind it was undeniable. Yeah, you've been thoughtful. This gift is very valuable for reference. Having received praise from the two big shots, Wang Yu was walking on air. The surrounding guests crowded around to flatter her. As expected of Miss Wang, this gift is so sophisticated, innovative, and high-tech, far better than giving gold or jade. Wang Yu basked in the praise, then suddenly shifted the conversation, looking towards Su Qing, her voice intentionally raised. Oh, dear cousin, where is your gift? I saw earlier that huge thing wrapped in red cloth at the door. Surely that isn't the surprise you prepared? Everyone's gaze instantly shifted to Su Qing. She should have been the center of attention, but at this moment she felt like a prisoner awaiting sentencing at an execution ground. She had contacted Lin Mo 3 times for the manual, but Lin Mo only replied, "Don't rush, I'm uploading the file now." Facing Wang Yu's provocation, Su Qing had no choice but to steel herself and step forward. Grandpa, Uncle Chun, I've also prepared a mechanical model. Su Jinhai asked, where is it? It's just outside. Su Qing pointed outside the floor-to-ceiling window. Everyone followed her finger. The sunlight was perfect, and that 5-meter-high red-wrapped object cast a massive shadow across the lawn, compared to the delicate, high-tech piece. In Wang Yu's hand, the thing outside looked crude and gargantuan. So imposing. Jiangwo frowned. Where did she drag this Transformers sculpture from? Wang Yu couldn't help but burst out laughing. Cousin, you weren't scammed by some contractor, were you? One look and it's obvious. It's just one of those foam sculptures from a mall entrance. Su Qing's face turned red with frustration. She retorted loudly, "It's metal. It's custom-made." Wang Yu laughed even harder. Such a massive hunk of metal. How much must that have cost? I bet it's just an empty tin shell. My cousin's intention is good, but taste. That's another story. The guests began to whisper, their eyes full of mockery. To them, this was indeed a farce. A clueless rich girl, trying to grab attention, had brought in a huge, useless piece of junk. Su Jinhai's expression also soured. He had always been rigorous and detested this kind of attention-seeking behavior. Since it's here, let's go take a look, Su Jinhai said indifferently, his tone devoid of emotion. With something that big blocking the entrance, we need some answers. The group marched toward the garden in a grand procession. Su Qing followed behind, her palms drenched in cold sweat. She pulled out her phone.
Frantically messaging Lin Montag.
Where are you? Get over here now. If this flops, you have to help me explain. Meanwhile, Lin Mo was hiding at the very back of the crowd, a toothpick dangling from his lips, with a look of pure anticipation on his face. This needs no explanation. Lin Mo stared at the red cloth bundle. A flicker of obsession flashed in his eyes. This is the ultimate romance for men. The crowd walked onto the lawn. To get a closer look, the sense of oppression intensified. 5 meters tall, roughly the height of a 2-story building. Cousin, go ahead and unveil it. Wang Yu crossed her arms, waiting for the punchline. Let's open our eyes and see what this 5-meter treasure is. Exactly what kind of miracle it's supposed to be. Su Qing stood by the red cloth. The pull cord was right by her hand. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes. Screw it, here goes nothing. Lin Mo, if you dare screw me over, I'll haunt you from the grave. Su Qing yanked the cord. The massive red canvas cascaded down like a waterfall. There was no expected sound of foam rubbing, nor the rattling of cheap sheet metal. The red cloth hit the ground with a dull, heavy thud. Then came a dead silence. Hundreds of people, including Su Jinhai and Chun Jiangwo, all went silent in that instant. Sunlight poured relentlessly onto the behemoth. It was a machine of deep, dark red, a giant humanoid mecha with a matte finish. It wasn't that kind of smooth, plastic-like anime figure. This was the pinnacle of industrial engineering. Standing before it, everyone felt as insignificant as an ant. The smile on Wang Yu's face froze. Her mouth hung open wide enough to fit an egg. The exquisite 10 centimeters model in her hand, now in front of this giant, looked like nothing more than a childish toy. Su Jinhai's glasses nearly slid off. He took a trembling step forward, reaching out to touch the cold armor, but he hesitated. The old man was too excited to speak coherently. As for Chun Jiangwo's reaction, as a soldier, he had a natural instinct for such things. That wasn't the look one gives a piece of art. That was the look one gives a weapon. These weld seams. Chun Jiangwo strode to the mecha's lower leg, squatting down to stare at an armor plate joint. This is scale welding. No, this is deep penetration welding. Steel plates of this thickness, how could they be welded so smoothly?
Absolutely no sermel deformación.
And this hydraulic piping design. Su Jinhai leaned in too, lying on the ground, completely disregarding his image. This is a dual-circuit redundancy design. My God, this wiring is textbook perfection. A model maker couldn't have done this. This is the work of a mechanical engineer. The two of them circled the mecha's foot several times, spouting nothing but professional jargon. The guests around them had no clue, but they could all see the shock on the two big shots' faces. Su Qing opened her eyes, watching everyone's reaction, especially seeing Wang Yu, with a look like she'd swallowed a fly. The heavy weight in her heart finally lifted. So, compared to your little toy, I wonder which one Grandpa prefers. Wang Yu's face turned pale, but she refused to accept it. She didn't believe someone who fixes e-bikes could create something like this. Humph, it's just a larger shell. Wang Yu sneered. What's the point of it looking real? It's definitely empty inside, or stuffed with scrap metal. Grandpa, this thing definitely can't move. It's just a decoration. She turned around, looking at Su Qing maliciously. Cousin, since it's so realistic, do you dare open the cockpit? Let us see, or make it move a bit. As soon as she said this, Su Jinhai and Chun Jiangwo also looked at Su Qing. True, no matter how good the exterior is, if it's lifeless, it's just a high-end sculpture. Su Qing's heart skipped a beat again. How was she supposed to know if it could move? Just then, her phone went ding. Lin Mo's message finally arrived. I've sent you the app installation package. Connect via Bluetooth after installing. Password 123456. Just remember, don't click that red, full firepower button. That's Cough cough, special effects mode. I'm afraid it'll scare the elderly. Su Qing looked at the phone screen, fingers trembling slightly. He looked up, glancing at the towering cockpit, then at Wang Yu's provocative gaze. Let's do this. Su Qing opened the app, pressing his finger onto the massive start button. A low, deep hum, as if echoing from the depths of hell, instantly reverberated through the entire estate. The sound of current surging through high-power motors, causing the very air to vibrate. Beneath the Mecha's black visor, too, crimson lights suddenly flared, like a demon opening its eyes. With the release of high-pressure gas, the chest armor plates slid slowly to the sides, revealing a cockpit filled with instrument panels and holographic projections. At the same time, a massive mechanical hand, with the precise whirring of motors, slowly descended before Su Qing, opening its palm. A deathly silence fell over the crowd. Only the 10 centimeters model in Wang Yu's hand hit the ground with a clack, snapping a leg off. Su Qing's hands trembled as he gripped the ergonomically designed control levers. He expected to feel plastic or rough iron pipes, but the sensation sent a jolt through his heart. A smooth, dampened aerospace-grade alloy. He could even feel a faint internal vibration, as if the Mecha had a heartbeat. Welcome, pilot. A cold, emotionless synthetic voice suddenly echoed in the narrow cabin, startling Su Qing nearly out of his seat. The sound didn't come from speakers, but through bone conduction headphones, resonating directly inside his skull. System self-check complete. Power core output 15%. Hydraulic system pressure normal. Fire control radar on standby. Due to urban environment restrictions. Long-range strike module locked. Su Qing was completely bewildered. What fire control radar? What long-range strike? Master Lin really went all out for the act. Even the system voice is this realistic. He looked out through the holographic HUD. The view through the glass was now covered by streaming lines of data. The faces of the people outside were all locked in green boxes, with estimated heart rates and temperatures. My God! Su Qing muttered. This app is way too advanced. Meanwhile, on the ground outside the cockpit, the guests were looking up, staring at the steel beast that had swallowed Su Qing. The mechanical arm had retracted. The cockpit hatch closed seamlessly, with a suffocating sound of an airtight seal. Wang Yu's voice turned shrill with jealousy. Closing it isn't a feat. If you're so capable, take a few steps. There must be a projector inside. It's just a giant VR experience center. She turned to Su Jinhai and Chen Jiangwo, trying to find allies. Grandpa, don't be fooled. I could do something like this too. Holographic technology is very advanced now. It looks real, but you can't even touch it. However, the two elders weren't paying her any attention. Chen Jiangwo was crouching by the Mecha's ankle, holding a portable high-intensity flashlight, staring intently at a nameplate on the hydraulic joint. Old Su, come look at this. Chen Jiangwo's voice trembled slightly. Su Zinai Lindin, on that nail-sized metal nameplate. Component: high-load vector hydraulic joint. High-load vector hydraulic joint. No LN material. C4. Manufacturer: Lin Mo. Warning: do not disassemble. Do not disassemble. Manufacturer: do not disassemble. Contains high-voltage capacitors. TC4 titanium alloy recast.
Susenai gasped.
This kind of craftsmanship, only the space agency's vacuum furnace could do this. How did he do it? And look at this weld point. This was welded by hand. This is impossible. A human hand couldn't be this precise. Not only that, Chen Jiangwo pointed to a cable. This is the shielding layer of a graphene superconducting cable. Even though it's wrapped in insulating tape, it looks pretty tacky, but the feel, high-voltage DC current is flowing through here. Old Su, if this were a model, who would run high-voltage power through a model? As they looked at each other, they both saw the sheer terror in each other's eyes. This is no model. This is a war machine that hasn't even been deployed yet. Right then, the Mecha suddenly moved. The massive right foot slowly lifted, though the movement was slightly sluggish. But the wind pressure from those dozens of tons lifting off instantly blew away the wigs and hats of everyone around. Accompanied by the scream of the motors, that giant mechanical foot took a step forward. forward. The lawn collapsed instantly. Dirt flew everywhere. The ground of the entire estate shuddered. Wine glasses on the banquet table crashed down in a heap. The crowd let out terrified screams. Everyone scrambled back. Wang Yu's high heel buckled from fear. She collapsed right onto the ground, her face turning pale as a sheet. Inside the cockpit, Su Qing was also breaking out in a cold sweat. I only pushed the control lever slightly. I didn't expect this big guy to react so violently. The phone suddenly rang. Su Qing frantically answered the call. Before she could say a word, Lin Mo's urgent voice came through, with the sound of him chewing food in the background. "Miss Su, I saw the mecha move. Oh, there's something I forgot to tell you. Lin Mo, why is this thing so sensitive? I almost hit a tree," Su Qing hissed in a low shout. "And there are way too many buttons on here. Which one controls the movement? None of that matters. Just push the lever. It's idiot-proof operation." Lin Mo swallowed the cake in his mouth, speaking indistinctly. "Most importantly, there's a red cover on your right. Open it and there's a red button inside. Whatever you do, don't touch that randomly." Su Qing looked down. She indeed saw that striking red cover, with crooked words written on it in marker. "What is this?" "That's for your grandfather's birthday celebration. A celebratory canon mode."
Lin Montag explained.
"I thought since it's a birthday banquet, there should be some noise. So inside the mecha's arm, I installed 2 modified magnesium rods and smoke tubes. But I didn't have time to tune the circuit. The power might be a tiny bit too high." "Celebratory cannon?" Su Qing's eyes lit up. At this moment, although Wang Yu was sitting on the ground, she was still being stubborn. So what if it moved? Clunky as a turtle. It must be remote-controlled. Su Qing couldn't possibly drive it. Su Qing heard the shouting outside. The mecha's audio system was ridiculously good. "Lin Mo, is this cannon safe? It just glows and smokes, right?" "Theoretically." Lin Mo scratched his head. "As long as you don't aim it at people. Fire it into an open space. Should look pretty nice, like a giant firework." Su Qing hung up the phone. "Since it's a firework, then let that annoying Wang Yu shut up." She took a deep breath. Through the HUD, she locked onto a distant target, an artificial rockery at the edge of the estate. It was 200 meters away from the crowd. Absolutely safe. "Wang Yu, since you want a show, I'll give you a big one." Su Qing violently flipped open the cover labeled Truth and slammed her thumb down hard. At the same time, in a corner of the estate, Lin Mo, who was eating his second slice of Black Forest cake, suddenly saw the mecha raise its right arm. The energy ring in the palm began to flash a blinding blue light. It was the glow produced by ionizing the air. The fork slipped from Lin Mo's hand. "Holy shit! I remember installing magnesium rods. Why is there a plasma reaction? Did I wire it wrong last night?" That high-voltage capacitor set I scavenged from the radar station before he could even react. A tooth-rattling, high-frequency electrical hum instantly drowned out the noise of the crowd. The mecha's right arm jolted violently, and a beam that only exists in sci-fi movies, a brilliant crimson ray, accompanied by visible ripples in the air, erupted instantaneously. A high-energy plasma jet, 1/2 meter in diameter. In that split second, the world seemed to go silent. Then, 200 meters away, that 10-meter-high, artificial rockery made of Taihu stones was like a pencil drawing erased by a rubber. It simply vanished into thin air. No flying debris, because the rocks were instantly vaporized into powder by the heat. The beam pierced through the rockery, leveled a small grove of trees behind it, finally slamming into the manor's perimeter wall, leaving a massive hole with vitrified, melted edges. Inside the cockpit,
Su stared blankly ahead.
Was that firework a bit too powerful? A deathly silence fell over the manor. Everyone stood there, mouths agape, frozen in the positions they were in a second ago. Wang Yu sat on the ground, completely paralyzed with shock. Though the beam had been far from him, that aura of absolute destruction made him feel the raw terror of death. Chen Jiangwo was the first to snap out of it. He whipped his head toward Su Jinhai, and in those old eyes that had seen everything, there was now only bloodshot madness. "Old Su, you old fox." Chen Jiangwo grabbed Su Jinhai by the collar, spittle flying in his agitation. "You played poor with me. You said your tech was bottlenecked. What the hell is this? This is a tactical single-soldier mecha. This is a portable plasma cannon. You fucking call this a model?" Su Jinhai was shaken dizzy. He looked at the smoking crater in the distance, trembling violently. "Old Chun, Believe me, I really didn't know. If my family had developed this, would I even be unable to make a 10 centimeters model? Chen Jiangwo let go and immediately pulled from his coat a red encrypted communication phone. His hands were shaking so badly that he misdialed several times before connecting. This is Chen Jiangwo. Deploy a reinforced battalion here immediately. Track my coordinates. A single unit. A strategic weapon that could change the face of future warfare. Bring anti-aircraft missiles. Seal off a 10-kilometer radius. Not even a bird leaves this area. Hanging up the phone, Chen Jiangwo turned around, with a look usually reserved for giant pandas. No, a look for a national strategic treasure. He stared intensely at the steaming Mecha.
Suin, Gel.
Don't you dare move, Chen Jiangwo screamed, his voice cracking from sheer excitement. Someone, get some soft cushions for the Mecha's feet. Don't let it get scratched. This is a priceless treasure. Inside the cockpit, Su Qing looked at the absolute chaos outside, then looked down at her own, still trembling thumb.
Lin Montag.
Su Qing wanted to cry. You call this a ceremonial salute? 10 minutes ago, this place was Zhonghai's most luxurious social playground. Socialites sipped champagne and gossiped, while business tycoons exchanged business cards. Now, it had been taken over by military green. 3 attack helicopters circled overhead, their massive rotors making the windows rattle. Dozens of military trucks blocked every exit of the manor. Fully armed soldiers set up yellow caution tape. All guests were herded into a corner of the banquet hall, their phones all confiscated. Everyone had to sign a top-secret non-disclosure agreement. The influencer who had been live streaming had their phone crushed under a boot and was now crouching in the corner, shivering. What on earth is going on? I just came here for dinner. Shut up. Can't you see that officer? He's from the theater command. In the center of the crowd, Su Qing had already been invited out of the cockpit. She looked like a primary student who had done something wrong, standing on the lawn. Opposite her, Chen Jiangwo and Su Jinhai, along with a team of newly arrived research experts, were surrounding the Mecha for an emergency physical exam. Reporting, Commander, an old expert with thick glasses, holding a detector, runs over with a look of pure horror. The energy core has detected a high-energy reaction, but it's not nuclear fusion, nor is it fission. The structure is bizarre. It's like hundreds of civilian lithium batteries in series, but in the middle, there's a voltage stabilizer we can't even comprehend. It forcibly boosts the energy density by 50 times. Chen Jiangwo's eyes widened. Wouldn't that blow up at any moment? The expert wiped away sweat. But this stabilizer is too ingenious. It uses a dynamic balance algorithm, locking the energy down tight. This algorithm is more advanced than the Lungsan fire control system we're developing. Far more advanced, by at least 2 generations. And this armor, another expert knocks on the Mecha's leg. This isn't ordinary steel plating. This is multi-layer composite armor. The outer layer is cold-rolled steel, but the middle layer is actually rubber from old tires. Wait. This rubber has been specially treated, turning it into a high molecular energy-absorbing material. The recoil from that last shot was completely absorbed by this layer of tires. Listening to these reports, Chen Jiangwo felt his worldview collapsing. Achieving nuclear-level power with lithium batteries. Achieving reactive armor performance with scrap tires. Is this something a normal human could actually do? He turned his head, looking at Su Qing with a complex expression. Girl, tell me the truth. Chen Jiangwo tried to keep his tone gentle, but the pressure he exerted was unmistakable. Where on earth did this Mecha come from? Is it a prototype leaked from the UK? Or the product of some hidden, national-level laboratory? Su Qing was on the verge of tears. Uncle Chen, I'm really not lying. This is just someone I found on the City Master app. A welder. Just a welder. I only paid him 1 million to make a model for my grandfather's birthday. I don't know how he did it. 1 million. An expert nearby almost dropped his tablet in shock. 1 million. That wouldn't even buy a single hydraulic pipe for a Mecha. The control chips on this thing. A single one costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're nearly impossible to find. Chen Jiangwo narrowed his eyes. A welder understands dynamic balance algorithms and plasma confinement equations? Girl, This concerns national security. You cannot cover for him. I'm serious. Su Qing stamped her feet in frustration. His name is Lin Mo. He's right here, he just called me. He said this was a ceremonial salute. Chun Jiangwo glanced at the smoking crater in the distance. His lip twitched. Ceremonial salute, my ass? Su Qing looked around, among the detained crowd, searching for that familiar figure. The one who was just eating cake. Just then, a commotion broke out beyond the cordon. What are you doing? Let me go. I'm just here to settle the bill. Why are you arresting me? Two fully armed Special Forces soldiers were dragging a young man in grease-stained overalls toward them. The young man was still holding half a Black Forest cake, with a defiant look on his face. It was Lin Mo. That's him. He's the one who made it. Lin Mo was brought before Chun Jiangwo and Su Jinhai. He broke free from the soldier's grip, straightened his cheap few dollar overalls, looked at the scene around him, then looked at the giant crater, and probably figured it out. Leaders, this one's on me. That salute was indeed a bit too powerful. I just wanted to make a bang. I didn't expect to blow up the rockery, but let me be clear, that rockery already had some cracks. It was practically a hazard. I was just helping you remove a danger. Chun Jiangwo sized up the young man. Too ordinary as a mechanic you'd find at any roadside repair shop. You built this mecha? Chun Jiangwo pointed to the behemoth behind him. Miss Su placed the order. I have a contract. Legitimate business. You did this all by yourself? Not exactly. Lin Mo thought for a moment. An old Wong from the scrapyard next door helped me lift the steel plate. Chun Jiangwo took a deep breath, suppressing the sense of absurdity in his heart. Do you know the principle behind that blast just now? Lin Mo scratched his head. Isn't it just coal powder burning under instant high pressure, combined with a fan to blow the smoke out? To make the light brighter, I added a focusing lens. Maybe the lens focused too well and ignited the air. The surrounding experts felt like punching him. What the hell do you mean, coal powder combustion? That was plasma. You used coal powder to reach the temperature of the sun's surface. How did you grind that lens? An optics expert couldn't help but ask. Oh, that. Lin Mo pointed to a Bentley parked nearby. I saw this car parked on the roadside. The headlights were pretty bright. I figured nobody wanted it, so I took them apart and ground them down. The glass quality was great, quite heat-resistant. Hearing this, Wang Yu, who had just changed her pants in the crowd, rolled her eyes and completely fainted. Chun Jiangwo looked at Lin Mo, as if looking at an alien. He suddenly realized that the young man before him might not even know what he had actually created. In his eyes, all of this seemed like standard procedure. Is this what a genius is? Shaolin. Su Jinhai finally came to his senses and walked forward tremblingly, grasping Lin Mo's oil-stained hand. The power system of this mecha. How did you solve the energy transmission loss? We calculated for a long time. At this size, the wires should have burnt out long ago. Oh, that's simple. I coated the wires with a layer of graphite powder and then steamed them in a pressure cooker. I found that this reduces resistance and helps with heat dissipation. Isn't this just a basic makeshift method? I learned it from an online tutorial. Steaming graphite powder in a pressure cooker. A material science expert clutched his chest, pulling emergency heart medication from his pocket. That's the preparation principle for graphene superconducting materials. Although extremely simplified, the core logic is actually correct. This guy crafted superconducting materials with a pressure cooker. Chun Jiangwo took a deep breath, his gaze becoming incredibly sharp. He turned around and notified the adjutant behind him. Top secret, level 1, Theater Command. Delete all surveillance footage from this area. Everyone who has seen this mecha must sign an S-Class confidentiality agreement and shall not leak a single word for the rest of their lives. Then he looked at Lin Mo, a kind smile appearing on his face. Shaolin, how's the business at your repair shop? Sigh. Don't even mention it.
Lin Montag Zeit.
I was counting on the final payment from this job to fix my roof, but to transport this thing, I had to tear the roof off. Now it's still drafty. Chun Jiangwo waved his hand. No need to repair it. The state will build you a new one. Really? Can it have air conditioning? Chen Jiangwo's smile grew even brighter. Not only air conditioning, but also guards, including a private laboratory, a wind tunnel and a firing range. Weld whatever you want, unlimited materials, and free electricity.
Lin Montag pauset.
Stepping back half a pace warily. This sounds too good to be true. Chief, you're not planning to make me repair aircraft carriers? Are you? Let me tell you, I don't have a license. I'm an unlicensed welder. Chen Jiangwo burst into laughter, patting Lin Mo on the shoulder with such force that it nearly knocked Lin Mo to the ground. Who cares about a license? From this day forward, the state will issue you one. You are special grade. You are a national treasure welder. He turned his head, looking at the Mecha glistening in the sunlight, a fierce fire igniting in his eyes. With this thing, the Raptors of the UK, or any exoskeleton, are all fucking toys. Shaolin, let's go. Come back to the base with me. We'll head to the range and properly test the true power of your model. Lin Mo looked completely bewildered. If we go to the range, will Miss Su settle the final payment? Su Qing nodded vigorously beside him. I'll pay it right now. Double? No, 10 times. Right then, Lin Mo's phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar overseas number. Lin Mo answered the call. A stiff voice spoke Chinese on the other end. Mr. Lin, we are Thor Corporation from the US. We just used a satellite to detect a thermal reaction at Cloud Top Manor. If you are willing, we are prepared to offer $50 million to hire you as a technical consultant.
Lin Montag frownet.
$50 million. Chen Jiangwo and Su Jinhai's expressions changed instantly. Lin Mo glanced at Chen Jiangwo, that murderous look in his eyes. He said calmly into the phone, "Sorry, I'm not going abroad. Besides, your voltage is different from ours. My soldering iron won't fit the socket." After saying that, he hung up. He stuffed the phone into his pocket. Leader, where were we? Right, the shop with air conditioning. Chen Jiangwo looked at Lin Mo. The admiration in his eyes was almost overflowing. Old Su, this mech is being requisitioned. The state will send you a commemorative banner later. With Chen Jiangwo's order, a massive military transport helicopter slowly descended. Lin Mo was surrounded by soldiers as if he were the president, escorted onto the aircraft. That longevity number 1 mech was also hoisted away by an emergency heavy transport plane, leaving behind a manor in total shambles. Su Qing watched the departing helicopter. A strange feeling suddenly washed over her. That grease-covered man who fought hard for 500,000 seemed, in this moment, to fly toward a height she could never reach. But the next second, her phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from Lin Mo. "Boss, money received. Remember to call me if you have this kind of job again. 20% discount for regulars. By the way, the manual for the mech, I've sent it to your email. Be sure to read it. Especially the end. Flight mode is strictly prohibited indoors." Su Qing looked at her phone and suddenly smiled. Flight mode. She suddenly looked up at the sky. Just how many surprises is this guy hiding? Third basement level of a hidden military base in the suburbs of Zhonghai. There are no windows here, only cold LED tubes emitting a pale, ghostly light. An interrogation room, or as the military calls it, special talent screening. The room temperature was kept constant at 22 degrees. But sitting opposite him, that row of white-haired veteran experts had foreheads drenched in sweat. Lin Mo sat in a specially made metal chair. The handcuffs on his wrists had been removed. A steaming cup of Dahong Pao tea sat before him. "Comrade Lin, even if it's just for your own sake, please, tell us the truth." The one leading the questioning was an elderly man with thick glasses. He was a titan in the field of dynamics.
Academician Li Shangzheng.
At this moment, he was pointing at a structural diagram on the projection screen, his fingers trembling as if playing a piano. "Regarding this voltage stabilizer for the energy core, or what you called the leakage protector, we just ran 300 simulations on a supercomputer, and the conclusion is that the topological structure of this thing is 80% similar to the magnetic confinement field of a tokamak device. Tell me, did you really figure this out in a repair shop?" Lin Mo held the teacup. He innocently blew on the tea leaves floating on the surface. "Old gentleman, I'm really not lying to you. Humph. It's just a fuse box to prevent leakage." Lin Mo put down the cup. He explained seriously, Think about it, with all those lithium batteries in series, the voltage is incredibly high. I was afraid Miss Sue would get shocked, so I added a few coils in the middle for shunting. As for the way the coils are wound, I followed my grandmother's knitting patterns, alternating knit and purl stitches. They say it keeps the tension from loosening. Academician Li Chongging had just taken a sip of water and sprayed it out instantly, splashing it all over the face of the major taking notes. Academician Li slammed the table and stood up, his face flushed deep red. You call nonlinear constraint of a toroidal magnetic field knitting? Do you know the magnetic flux density of this structure? It's 12 Tesla. This is something even the most advanced labs struggle with. A room temperature superconducting magnetic field. And you knitted it using copper wire and enameled wire? Lin Mo shrank his neck, looking somewhat aggrieved. Well, I can't exactly say I just wound it blindly. I really think it looks better long, and it dissipates heat faster. If you don't believe me, I can bring that sweater to show you. It's in the old wardrobe in my shop. Behind the one-way glass, Chun Jiangwo stood with arms crossed, watching the scene inside. A grin spread across his face, one he couldn't possibly suppress. Beside him, Su Jinhai looked like he was questioning existence itself. Old Chun, are you sure this kid isn't faking it? Knitting sweaters to achieve such complexity. If this gets out, physicists worldwide would lose their minds. The world of a genius is often this unpretentious. Chun Jiangwo's eyes burned with passion. The real show was yet to come. Inside the interrogation room, another expert took over. This time, it was an authority in software engineering and AI, Dr. Zhao. Dr. Zhao took a deep breath, trying his best not to sound like he was having a breakdown. Fine, let's set the hardware aside for now. Lin Mo, regarding the Mecha's fire control system, the one that can lock onto 300 targets in 1 second, and calculate the optimal strike path, we found a lot of strange comments in the underlying code. Dr. Zhao pointed to a line of code on the screen. What does this mean? This is clearly a high-dimensional prediction algorithm, capable of predicting a target's trajectory through airflow and muscle tremors. Lin Mo scratched his head awkwardly, his face flushing slightly.
Dr. Zhao.
Actually, back when I played that Ice Guy game, I bought some source code for an aimbot cheat online. I thought the code was pretty clean, so I tweaked the parameters and plugged it in. After all, Miss Sue said she wanted to hit whatever she pointed at, so I figured an aimbot would be the easiest way. Dr. Zhao felt his blood pressure bursting through the crown of his head. You flashed a game cheat into a mecha that cost tens of billions, and it became a world-class fire control system. It's not entirely a cheat, Lin Mo added. The cheat could only lock onto heads, but the mecha needs to lock onto the whole body. So I also added the obstacle avoidance algorithm from my robot vacuum cleaner. I just plugged it in. Don't let it fool you, those vacuums are pretty smart. They know how to turn when they hit a wall. It's the same principle as a mecha dodging missiles. Dead silence filled the room. The experts looked at each other in disbelief, the pens slipping from their hands. Robot vacuums, game aimbots, powering a 5th-gen mecha fire control system. What the hell is this? Some kind of magical realism? And what about the radar? Another radar expert asked stubbornly, his voice already sounding shaky. That mecha's detection range reaches 50 kilometers, and it has anti-stealth capabilities. I've seen the radar dome. It's just a pile of junk I don't recognize. Lin Mo perked up. That's my proudest modification. It's just a few magnetrons from microwaves, combined with some old satellite dishes I picked up from a scrapyard. I cranked the microwave power to the max, then bumped up the frequency a bit. I figured if a microwave can heat up food, it should be able to detect things with heat. As for the anti-stealth, what's that? If I can see it, it can see it. Even if I can't see it, it can. As long as it's made of iron or has a temperature, a red dot will light up on the screen. The experts completely collapsed in their chairs. Microwave magnetrons turned into a phased array radar. This is no longer science. This is occultism. Just then, the interrogation room door opened. Chun Jiangwo strode in, followed by Su Jinhai. The experts all stood up. Chun Jiangwo walked up to Lin Mo, looking at the young man with a face that said, "Do I have to pay for this?" That was the look on his face. Suddenly, he felt the world had become exceptionally lovely. Chun Jiangwo pulled out a chair and sat down, his tone becoming serious and solemn. Lin Mo's heart skipped a beat. "Boss, if this is about a fine, Can I pay in installments? Although that 500,000 has arrived, I haven't withdrawn it yet. Chun Jangwo waved his hand, staring intensely, gazing with burning eyes. Based on the questioning just now, we either classify you as an alien spy or as a peerless national treasure.
Lin Mo blinked.
Can't I just be an ordinary welder? An ordinary welder doesn't build anti-stealth radars out of microwaves. Chun Jangwo smiled. Lin Mo, I don't care. Did you learn these theories from knitting sweaters with your grandma? Still using a patch inspired by a robot vacuum? The truth is, you've built a machine that transcends its era. Now, the state needs to verify this machine's peak performance. Lin Mo had a bad feeling about this. Chun Jangwo stood up. The firing range is ready. I want to see if your model is tougher than our active-duty main battle tanks. Lin Mo nearly slid right off his chair in shock. Sir, please stop joking. It's just a model. Even if I used some high-grade steel, can't withstand armor-piercing rounds. Besides, I don't even know how to fight in a mecha. I only know how to make it walk. Since the system was modified from a game cheat, why not just treat it like a game? Su Jinhai chimed in from the side, a mischievous glint in his eyes like an old prankster. Lin Mo, as long as you perform well in the test, forget an air-conditioned repair shop. I'll have the state build you a nuclear power plant just to charge your machine. Lin Mo swallowed hard. A nuclear power plant? That's a huge temptation. I could weld as much as I want, and Mom will never have to worry about me tripping the circuit breaker again. But if I accidentally break a tank, I don't have to pay for it, right? Lin Mo asked cautiously. Chun Jangwo burst into laughter, his voice making the interrogation room vibrate. If you can actually break our Type 99 modified main battle tank, I'll give you a bonus. For every one you destroy, I'll pay you 10 times over. Lin Mo's eyes lit up. He snapped to attention instantly, radiating a strange sense of confidence. Since that's how the boss puts it, then I'll give it a shot. But let's get this straight. Only training rounds are allowed. No live ammunition. I'm afraid that my paint job will get scratched, and Miss Su will deduct my pay. Chun Jangwo and Su Jinhai exchanged a look. This kid is still worried about paint and money. Chun Jangwo waved his hand. To the range. Let this kid give our armored brigade a lesson they won't forget. 10 minutes later, Lin Mo was led into a fully enclosed military off-road vehicle. But what he didn't know was, at a comprehensive tactical training base in the Northern Theater Command, the lights were blazing, and everyone was on high alert. The Steel Torrent, known as the Kings of Land Warfare, had already assembled, and opposite them, the machine that had just arrived, the Zhu Shou No. 1 Mecha, still half-covered in red cloth, stood silently in the freezing desert wind, like a lonely challenger. Except, the only thing on the pilot's mind was, if he wins, could he apply to get that broken microwave reimbursed too? Northern Theater Command, Tactical Testing Ground No. 01. 3 heavy tanks were parked in a neat line. Low-profile turrets, heavy explosive reactive armor, and long 125mm smoothbore guns. The pinnacle of current land warfare power. The Type 99 modified main battle tank, and 200 meters opposite them, the 5-meter-tall Zhu Shou No. 1 Mecha looked completely out of place. So this is the model? And 200 meters opposite them, the 5-meter-tall Zhu Shou No. 1 Mecha looked completely out of place. Ha! So this is the model? Tank Company Commander Haida sat atop the lead turret, chewing gum, with a look of pure disdain. Laughter from other crews crackled over the radio. I heard it was brought in from Zhonghai, some rich kid's birthday present. Did the commander have too much to drink? Why are we practicing with a toy? A target that big, if it doesn't move, I could blast it to smithereens in one shot. Don't be careless. I heard that thing vaporized a fake mountain. That was a stationary target. We are mobile, steel fortresses. How fast can those skinny legs even run? To me, it's just a giant torch. On the observation deck,
Chen Jiangwo, Susenai,
and a group of military high ranks sat solemnly. A massive screen displayed real-time data. Chun Jangwo gave the order into the microphone. Lin Mo was already seated in the cockpit. He had operated it once before, but that was just taking a few steps on a lawn. Now he was in the desert, facing 3 tanks radiating murderous intent. It would be a lie to say he wasn't nervous. System. Terrain identification complete.
Sandy terrain.
Off-road mode recommended. An electronic voice echoed in his mind. Lin Mo paused for a moment. Activation command confirmed. Power output increased to 40%. Gyroscope sensitivity set to maximum. With Lin Mo's confirmation, the mecha emitted a heart-stopping mechanical grinding sound. From the once flat mechanical soles, several half-meter titanium alloy claws suddenly snapped out, digging deep into the sandy ground. This is Subject 1. Mobility, evasion, and survival capability. The referee's voice echoed through the broadcast. Blue team tanks will use simulated laser combat systems. If the red team mecha is hit, it will be judged a failure. Countdown 3, 2, 1. Start. The engines of 3 tanks roared simultaneously, black smoke billowing from their exhausts, treads kicking up clouds of dust, charging toward the mecha in a wedge formation. This speed. Lin Mo stared at the red dots on his HUD. Way faster than my crappy electric scooter. The lead tank fired first. Though it was a simulated laser, flames still erupted from the muzzle, along with the smoke of blank rounds. But in the next second, the driver's smile froze. The red mecha had suddenly vanished. Not vanished, but its movements were simply too fast. Look closely. The mecha didn't turn and run clumsily like a human. Instead, its massive upper body, using its waist as an axis, performed an eerie 90-degree side tilt, just like the bullet dodge scene in The Matrix. This was done by dozens of tons of steel 5 meters tall. Evasion successful. A major general on the viewing platform crushed his binoculars in his grip. What kind of actuator is this? How can something weighing dozens of tons sidestep like that? Can its waist bearings even handle that? Lin Mo didn't have time to worry about the bearings. He only knew that his aimbot hack, the passive evasion feature of the fire control system, had automatically triggered a warning, multi-target lock-on. Recommendation. Take the initiative. As Lin Mo watched the 3 red dots closing in, his stubborn mechanic spirit flared up. Bullying me because I have no shells, huh? Fine. I'll just dismantle you. Lin Mo slammed the control lever forward, stomping down on the pedals. The turbine fans on the mecha's back suddenly accelerated. Though there were no flames, the massive suction whipped up a storm of yellow sand. With a grunt, the mecha's legs surged with power, launching it forward like a rocket. Zhu Shou number 1 was like a giant steel grasshopper, leaping across dozens of meters in a single bound, landing squarely on top of the leftmost tank. A thunderous crash. The tank crew felt as if the sky had collapsed. 28 tons of weight slammed down, the tank's suspension screaming in agony, the treads sinking deep into the sand. Half a meter deep. Slam dunk on your head,
Lin Mo shouted instinctively.
The mecha didn't stop there. Using the momentum of the fall, a mechanical hand seized the tank's gun barrel. So this is your gun barrel, huh? Looks pretty sturdy. Wonder if it works as a crowbar? Lin Mo yanked the mechanical arm upward with all his might. The tank's proud gun elevation hydraulic system, faced with the mecha's unreasonable strength, was like a fragile plastic toy. With the sound of spraying hydraulic fluid, that 125mm gun barrel was brutally bent into a perfect 90-degree right angle. Tank 1 is combat ineffective. The referee's voice came over the broadcast, trembling with shock. This was a total slaughter, products of entirely different eras. The remaining 2 tanks panicked. Scatter! Black Tower screamed. Don't let it get close. This is fucking insane. He bent a cannon with his bare hands, but the mecha gave them no chance. Lin Mo was now completely in the zone. He found the mecha's handling even more intuitive than his favorite wrench, since it's off-road mode. Then let's run. The mecha leaped off Tank 1, landing on all fours. Indeed, to maintain balance, Lin Mo switched the mecha to beast mode. Now, it looked more like a red mechanical gorilla, sprinting across the sand on all fours, moving so fast it left afterimages. A few seconds later, he caught up to Tank 2. This time, Lin Mo didn't bend the barrel. Instead, he extended a mechanical hand, gripping the tank's drive sprocket with pinpoint precision. Lin Mo let out a roar, and the mecha's hydraulic system output full power. Before everyone's terrified eyes, one side of the 50-ton main battle tank's tread was brutally ripped upward. The tank flipped over like a clumsy turtle, its treads still spinning in the air, emitting a helpless humming sound. Tank 2 has capsized. Battle lost. Combat capability lost. Only one left. Haida's tank. Haida was no longer disdainful. He was in despair. He watched the red monster turn around, those glowing red electronic eyes staring him down. Reverse. Now, but a tank can't reverse as fast as that monster. With just 2 massive strides, the mecha was right there. But this time, it didn't attack. It came to a sudden halt. Lin Mo saw the screen prompt, energy at 10%, suggesting power-saving mode. Damn, out of juice. Lin Mo felt frustrated. These batteries just don't last. I should have wired in a few more sets. Since I'm low on power, let's wrap this up quickly. Lin Mo looked at the tank in front of him, shivering in fear. He suddenly remembered the speaker button. The leader said no live ammunition. Then I'll just give him a scare. Lin Mo pressed the speaker button and cranked the volume to the max. The mecha slowly straightened its back, blocking the light of the searchlights. A colossal shadow engulfed the tank. Finally, the mecha's chest vibrated, emitting Lin Mo's amplified voice, sounding like a street peddler. Hey, buddy in there, you still want this car? If not, I'm here for the scrap. Looking at the condition, 50 cents a pound. I'll take it. On the viewing platform, Chen Jiangwo might be blunt, but this was an extreme insult. Haida gritted his teeth, trying to rotate the turret to fight back. Seeing this, Lin Mo sighed. Refusing the easy way and choosing the hard way, he commanded the mecha to lift its right foot and precisely stepped on the turret ring, locking the turret firmly in place. Then the mecha leaned down, its massive metal face pressing right against the tank sight. The mecha's visor opened, revealing an LED screen full of gibberish. Scrolling across it were words Lin Mo had just typed in randomly: professional repairs, sewer unclogging, high price old appliance recycling, phone 138 XXXXXXXX. Haida stared at the massive ad in his sight and finally snapped. He finally broke. I surrender. I surrender. Don't scrap me. If this gets bent anymore, I'll have to write a report. As Haida opened the hatch and raised his hands, a piercing air raid siren wailed across the testing ground. The signal that the exercise was over. Red team wins. Time: 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Casualties: 0. Lin Mo breathed a sigh of relief. He let the mecha squat on the ground. That was close. Any longer and I'd have been dead. Meanwhile, the viewing platform erupted in chaos. Su Jinhai was so excited he dropped his cane. He grabbed Chen Jiangwo and shook him violently. Did you see that? That beast-like running posture and that dynamic center of gravity adjustment. That is the pinnacle of bionic engineering. Something we couldn't achieve in 10 years. He just did it by running a few steps in the sand. Chen Jiangwo took a deep breath. His eyes grew misty. As a veteran, he saw more than just technology. He saw the future. This mobility, this power, if mass-produced for the battlefield, it would be the enemy's worst nightmare. Get the car. I'll open the door for our engineer myself. At that moment, Lin Mo was climbing out of the cockpit. The desert wind was howling, making his thin work clothes snap in the wind. He looked into the distance, at the tank with the bent gun barrel, and the other tank flipped upside down. He felt a sudden surge of anxiety. Just then, Chen Jiangwo's off-road vehicle screeched to a halt at the mecha's feet. Chen Jiangwo jumped out. He looked up at Lin Mo, who was standing on the mecha's knee. He was about to deliver a heartfelt commendation when he heard Lin Mo shout down to him. Chief, about that bent gun barrel. I just checked it. It was caused by uneven hydraulic pressure. I can fix it. Just please don't dock my bonus. Okay? Give me an acetylene torch and a jack. I can straighten it out in half an hour. I'm an expert at this. Chen Jiangwo stood frozen in the wind for a long time. Eventually, he couldn't help but laugh until he cried. That bent gun barrel, saw it off for me. Send it to the military museum. It's a witness to a turning point in human warfare. Lin Mo scratched his head. What a waste. Can you sell that scrap metal to me? The whole place burst into laughter. Amidst the cheering, no one noticed in the night sky at the edge of the desert, a high-altitude reconnaissance satellite disguised as a meteorite was transmitting this shocking scene via an encrypted channel back to the Pentagon across the ocean. A greater storm was brewing. Northern War Zone, Base 01, S-Class Secret Workshop. This place was originally used for assembling the newest intercontinental missile launchers. The final assembly workshop possessed Asia's top-tier constant temperature and humidity environment and the most advanced CNC machine tools. But right now, in this sci-fi-like workshop, the atmosphere was excruciatingly awkward. Hundreds of researchers in white coats, clutching notebooks, tablets, and voice recorders, looked like a group of eager elementary students crowding around a greasy old workbench. Behind the workbench, Lin Mo, with half a fried dough stick in his mouth, held a vintage welding torch of unknown age, looking completely exasperated as he stared at a titanium alloy plate.
Mr. Lin, Academician Li Shangzhen.
The nation's leading authority on dynamics was now as humble as an intern. That three-point welding method you just used, could you do it a bit slower? Our high-speed cameras caught it, but the thermal imaging shows that the moment the second weld point touched, there was a bizarre temperature jump. Why is that? Lin Mo swallowed his dough stick, took a sip of soy milk, and sighed. Old man, I've told you 800 times, it's not some jump, it's just that the heat is right. Li Chongying pushed up his glasses, his face blank. What are the specific temperature parameters? How many milliseconds does it last? How should I know the parameters? Lin Mo scratched his hair, getting a bit frantic. It's just that when you weld, you listen for that sound. Sizzle, 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 like searing a steak. But it can't be too loud. When the sound becomes a bit more muffled, like when a steak is medium rare, you give your wrist a slight flick to release that tension. How do I even explain this to you? The surrounding experts looked at each other in confusion. Chun Jiangwo stood to the side, his expression becoming strained.
Comrade Lin Montag.
Science is rigorous. You must convert your experience into data so that we can mass produce it. Lin Mo looked as if he'd heard a joke. Boss, this thing can't be mass produced. Why? Chun Jiangwo frowned. Because every piece of metal has its own temperament. Lin Mo put down the torch, pointing at the titanium alloy plate. Look, although this plate's factory standard is TC4, the density of the bottom left corner is about 0.001% higher than the top right. Instruments can't detect it, but I can feel it the moment I touch it. So when I weld the left, I bump up the current one notch. And when I weld the right, I let it heat up faster. If you follow a uniform standard, this plate would have cracked long ago. Dead silence fell over the room. Feeling a 0.001% density difference by hand, is this even possible for a carbon-based life form? A young PhD stepped forward, a genius graduate from Tsinghua's special class. He harbored a prejudice against Lin Mo's unorthodox ways. Mr. Lin, this contradicts the basics of material science. Human tactile thresholds cannot reach this level of precision. Lin Mo glanced at him without saying a word. He casually grabbed a handful from the nearby scrap pile, about dozens of screws of different models, and scattered them across the table. You can count them, or weigh them, Lin Mo said calmly. There are 32 grams of M4 screws here, and 18 grams of M6 screws. One of the M6 screws has a stripped thread, and one of the M4S isn't made of 304 stainless steel. It's a 201 fake. The young PhD froze for a moment, then immediately called for a precision scale and a microscope. 5 minutes later, the doctor looked up, face pale, staring at Lin Mo as if he were a ghost. The team had even found that 201 grade screw. A collective gasp echoed through the workshop. Chun Jiangwo took a deep breath. He finally understood why that mecha couldn't be replicated. It wasn't an industrial product at all. It was a masterpiece created by a freak with the hand of God, relying solely on intuition and experience. A one-of-a-kind piece carved by hand. A work of art. What about the anti-gravity algorithm? Dr. Zhao still wouldn't give up, pointing at the code on the screen. That vacuum cleaner logic. We fed it into the supercomputer, ran tens of thousands of simulations, and the mecha collapsed every single time. Why the hell does yours run so smoothly? Lin Mo scratched his head. Well, the code was just a supplement. Mainly, when I was installing the gyroscope that night, I noticed the base was slightly uneven, so I shimmed it with a piece of cardboard folded 4 times. Maybe the thickness of the paper just happened to correct the error. A piece of cardboard. Dr. Zhao felt a heart attack coming on. The nation's top-tier mecha core balance system was supported by a scrap of cardboard used to level a table. Chun Jiangwo suddenly roared. Do you have any idea what you're saying? This means, if that piece of paper wears down, the mecha will be paralyzed. No way, Lin Mo said with an innocent face. I glued it tight with 502 super glue. And besides, that was the cover of the blueprints Miss Su gave me. Coated paper is incredibly durable. Chun Jiangwo covered his forehead and waved his hand. Meeting adjourned. Everyone, leave. He realized it now. Lin Mo wasn't hiding secrets. He truly didn't understand science. Or rather, his system of science was built on a completely different dimension. A kind of metaphysics based on absolute intuition and experience. Engineering. Late at night, the base cafeteria, Lin Mo was facing a braised lion's head meatball. Huge portions, absolutely massive. Although he was under house arrest at the base, he had to admit, the food for the national team was actually great. Su Jinhai sat across from him with a tray. The old man was currently in a state of high excitement, but he had dark circles under his eyes. Su Jinhai looked at Lin Mo. Since it can't be mass-produced, let's try a different approach. Can you build another one? I almost choked. Elder Su, please have mercy on me. I lost pounds of hair building that one, and that was because Miss Su paid me. I had the motivation. As long as you're willing to do it, you can have as much funding as you want, and we can provide you with the best assistance. You won't even have to turn a single screw yourself. You just need to direct them from the side. Lin Mo put down his chopsticks, wiped his mouth. Elder Su, the truth is, it's not that I don't want to.
Lin Montag sighed.
His gaze became unusually serious. That night, in the torrential rain, I felt that pile of scrap metal calling to me. That's how I knew how to weld it. The thing is, it has a soul, asking me to do it again now. Even if you give me the exact same materials, I couldn't make the same thing. I might make something better, or I might just make a motionless piece of junk.
Susenai looked thoughtful.
However, if you just want to solve the issue of insufficient power in the exoskeleton, what suggestion? Su Jinhai's eyes lit up. I've seen the blueprints for your Xuanwu exoskeleton. Lin Mo dipped his chopsticks in the soup and drew a diagram on the table. You guys chase perfection too much, insisting on some fully closed hydraulic circuit. Actually, you could just make an opening here at the knee and install a spring, the kind of leaf springs used for truck suspension.
Lin Montag gestured.
When a person walks, gravity pulls downward. Use that gravity to compress the spring, and then release it when lifting the leg. Isn't that just free power? Sure. It's a bit crude, a bit noisy, but it saves electricity. It could increase battery life by at least 30%. Su Jinhai stared at the soup diagram on the table. His mind raced. The logic was outrageously simple. Every top expert was researching how to improve motor efficiency, while he went back to primitive mechanical energy storage. A genius. A true genius. Su Jinhai muttered to himself. The great way is simple. Just then, the TV in the cafeteria was broadcasting the evening news. Recently, a video of the Mecha at Cloud Peak Manor has sparked a heated debate online. Some netizens claim that the so-called Mecha is actually created by a special effects company as a CG animation or a scam using holographic projection technology. Lin Mo looked up and saw Wang Yu appear on the screen, her blurred face, crying and complaining to the camera. I was a witness at the time. I can say with full responsibility, that was just a model, nowhere near as miraculous as the internet claims. The Su family, to manipulate their stock price, teamed up with that fraud Lin Mo to stage this farce. I have the original video right here. The scene shifted to a maliciously edited video. Although the mecha was moving in the video, it was paired with ridiculous sound effects, and the crucial firing scene had been cut, leaving only the smoke.
Lin Montag smiled.
This woman still hasn't given up, but Su Jinhai's expression darkened. This is nonsense, it's a leak. Even though she posted an edited version, it will still draw unnecessary attention. Why hasn't old Chen dealt with this yet? Lin Mo didn't care, and continued eating his lion's head meatballs. Let her make a scene. The bigger the scene, the less people will believe that it's real. Everyone will think it's just special effects. Doesn't that make you even safer? This is called strategic deception. Su Jinhai was stunned, looking at Lin Mo. You brat, was this all part of your plan?
Lin Montag blinked.
If I said I just wanted to watch the chaos, would you believe me? Meanwhile, at the Su Group building in Zhonghai City, Su Qing sat in the spacious chairman's office, watching the stock price hit the limit down and the overwhelming abuse online. Su Group is faking it. Boycott Su Group. No bottom line, just for attention. That Lin Mo is nothing but a liar. President Su, the PR department can't contain it anymore. Miss Wang Yu has hired a massive army of paid trolls. Now the entire internet is cursing us. Furthermore, several foreign tech bloggers are reposting it, calling it another Chinese PPT car scam. Su Qing gazed expressionlessly at the night view outside. If it were before, she might have panicked, but now, echoing in her mind was the look Chen Jiangwo gave, that solemn gaze when he took Lin Mo away, and that top-secret gag order. She knew the truth, precisely because she knew the truth. Watching the performance of these internet clowns, she only found it laughable. Ignore it, let the stock price drop. A cold, elegant smile curled on Su Qing's lips. It's better if it hits rock bottom. Notify the finance department. Prepare all available liquid assets. When the stock price hits the absolute bottom, buy it all back. President Su, Wang Yu wants to play, then I'll play a big game with her. Su Qing stood up, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking toward the north. Just wait, the day Lin Mo returns. Everyone cursing us will be on their knees swallowing their words. But what Su Qing didn't know, behind this online carnival, a pair of cold eyes had already locked onto her. On the rooftop opposite the building, a man dressed in a janitor's uniform was observing Su Qing's office with high-power binoculars. He pressed his earpiece and said, "Target confirmed. The engineer is in a military base and inaccessible, but the financier is right here. Capturing her will force the engineer to appear. Operation code: dismantle." Storms in the digital world often strike harder than those in reality and are far more absurd. In just 24 hours, the Su family's billion-dollar Mecha scam and searching for the fraudulent welder Lin Mo, these two trending topics, surged onto and Twitter trends. Wang Yu wasn't as stupid as she appeared, or rather, jealousy and hatred had evolved her. She hid in a shady hotel that didn't require ID, holding some internal Su family documents, frantically fueling the fire online. Guys, can you believe this? That Lin Mo doesn't even have a welder's certificate. He's just some guy who fixes electric scooters. Tell me, how can a scooter repairman build a mecha? Isn't he just playing us for fools? In the livestream room, Wang Yu broke down in tears. The chat was flooded with hearts. "Poor girl," they wrote. "Down with the capitalists." He even released footage of oil stains everywhere and piles of scrap metal. This is the so-called high-tech lab? You expect a place like this to build a mecha? They don't even have a decent toilet. Public opinion shifted completely. Meanwhile, inside the Northern Theater Command Base, Lin Mo was crouching on the mecha's foot, holding a can of spray paint, touching up the spot grazed by a tank shell, painting it.
Lin Montag.
"You actually have the nerve to paint right now?" Chen Jiangwo strode over, holding a tablet. His face was grim. "Look at how they're tearing you apart online. Scammer of the century. A disgrace to industry. Want me to have the cyber police ban all these accounts?" Lin Mo glanced at the screen. "No need for that. Boss, these insults are actually quite creative. Look at this one. If this mecha is real, I'll live stream myself eating shit headfirst. I've noted this guy's ID. Later, let's do a special live stream and make him keep his word. You're way too carefree." Chen Jiangwo shook his head helplessly. "But there's something you need to know. While Wang Yu's hype is a farce domestically, it has attracted unwanted international attention." Chen Jiangwo opened a satellite photo. "This was taken 3 hours ago, captured by our satellite in international waters. A cargo ship flying the Panamanian flag suddenly changed its course and is now approaching Zhonghai City's waters. Furthermore, our intelligence network in Zhonghai intercepted several encrypted signals, tracing directly back to the Su Group." The spray can in Lin Mo's hand stopped. The smile vanished from his face. "They're going after Su Qing." "Very likely." Chen Jiangwo's expression grew grave. "You are the technical source. We're protecting you like a fortress in this base. They can't get in here, but Su Qing is the only one who knows, and she's the one who discovered you and brought you in. Foreign forces might use her as a breakthrough, or as a hostage." Lin Mo was silent for 2 seconds. "I have to go back. This is madness. Chun Jangwo flatly refused. You are now a strategic national asset. One step outside this base. Do you know how many sniper rifles are aimed at you? Then what about Su Qing? Lin Mo stood up. For the first time, the playfulness left his eyes. She's just a naive girl who pays well. This all started because of me. I can't let her take the fall for me. I've already sent a special ops team to protect her. Chun Jangwo pressed his hand on Lin Mo's shoulder. You must trust the state. I trust the state. Lin Mo looked at Chun Jangwo. But I trust my own craftsmanship more. He pointed to the mecha beneath him. Boss, this thing is fixed, since it's in the testing phase. Can we test the urban counterterrorism module? Chun Jangwo was stunned. Are you insane? Driving this thing back to Zhonghai? Over 1,000 kilometers. And it's such a massive target. Satellites will spot you before you even enter the city. I have a way to stay hidden. A cunning smile curled on Lin Mo's lips. Did you forget? I have those stealth coatings made from microwaves. And the low-altitude flight mode. Su Group underground parking lot. Su Qing had just finished working overtime. Rubbing her aching shoulders, she walked to her car. In the empty parking lot, only the sound of her high heels clicking against the ground. Suddenly, a strange chill washed over her. Su Qing instinctively stopped in her tracks. Beside her car stood 3 people in gray raincoats. They were wearing masks, their brims pulled low, holding long black bags in their hands. These aren't security guards. Su Qing's heart instantly raced. She turned to run back to the elevators. Miss Su, where are you rushing to? A voice came from behind. Somehow, the elevator exit was also blocked by 2 people in the same attire. Who are you? I'm calling the police. Su Qing tremblingly pulled out her phone. Go ahead and try. The leader slowly looked up, revealing a pair of sharp, hawk-like blue eyes. He held a strange device in his hand. Su Qing realized her phone signal had instantly dropped to 0. A signal jammer. My boss would like to invite Miss Su for a cup of tea in international waters, to chat about that welder's story. The leader approached step by step. A cold flash gleamed in his hand. It was a tactical pistol equipped with a silencer. Please cooperate. I wouldn't want to put a hole in your beautiful face. Su Qing retreated step by step, until her back hit the cold wall. Where is the special ops team? Didn't Uncle Chun say someone was protecting me? Stop looking. The leader seemed to read her mind. The bodyguards outside are already asleep. Professionals are indeed hard to handle, but we are more professional. 5 assassins formed a circle, trapping Su Qing in the middle. Take her. The leader waved his hand. Just as 2 assassins reached out to grab Su Qing's arm, a thunderous crash erupted, like Mjolnir striking the earth. At the entrance of the underground parking lot, the half-meter-thick blast shutter was torn apart instantly like a piece of thin paper. Gale winds and torrential rain surged inside. Along with the storm came 2 crimson beams piercing the darkness, a pair of electronic eyes hovering 3 meters high. The assassins whipped around. Their guns were raised instantly. Under the dim emergency lights, a massive, suffocating black silhouette was crouching silently at the entrance. Water was still dripping from its body. Across the surface of the armor flowed an eerie optical camouflage ripple, making its outline appear blurred. What is that? The leader screamed in terror. The shadow slowly stood upright, standing 5 meters tall, pressed directly against the garage ceiling. The sound of concrete cracking echoed. The faceplate opened, revealing a loudspeaker. A lazy voice echoed through the empty garage. Excuse me, is this the Su Group's underground garage? I'm here for a delivery. Su Qing looked up abruptly. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. It was that voice, the voice that made her grit her teeth in frustration, yet brought her absolute peace of mind. Despite the shock, professional instinct made the leader pull the trigger. 3 armor-piercing rounds fired in a triangular pattern toward the shadow's chest. But as the bullets hit the armor, they only produced a few insignificant sparks. Not even the paint was scratched. Ouch! Someone's got a temper. Lin Mo sat in the cockpit, looking at the hit indicators on the black tower. Minor impact detected. Damage 0 since you started it. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Lin Mo took a deep breath. His hands danced across the console like lightning, activating close quarters combat mode. To the assassins, this was a terrifying speed beyond comprehension. All they saw was a black blur. The first 2 assassins didn't even have time to scream before a massive mechanical hand plucked them up like little chicks. Then, with a gentle nudge, clang, The two collided and were knocked unconscious instantly. The leader retreated in terror, firing his gun frantically until the magazine was empty. Monster! What kind of monster is this? The mecha stepped in front of him in a single stride. It dropped to one knee. That massive metal face leaned in, stopping just 10 centimeters from his nose. Remember this. Lin Mo's voice was as cold as a judge in hell. This isn't a monster. This is an industrial miracle whose final payment you can never afford. With that, the mecha extended a finger. Just a single finger. It lightly flicked the assassin's forehead. The leader's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed straight down. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. The remaining two assassins were shaking with fear. They dropped their guns and bolted.
Lin Montag snorted.
"Miss Su, close your eyes."
Suin instinctively close
her eyes. Suddenly, the two small attitude adjustment thrusters on the mecha's back pivoted, aiming directly at the two fugitives. Two powerful blasts of air erupted, blowing the two of them 10 meters back, pinning them to the wall so hard they couldn't be pried off. The battle was over. Lin Mo opened the cockpit and jumped down. He was still wearing those filthy work clothes, hair soaking wet, looking completely wrecked. But in Su Qing's eyes, he was more dashing than any prince in existence.
"Hey, Boss Su." Lin Montag grinned.
"Looks like you owe me more than just the balance this time. This is called an extra security fee. I'm gonna need more money." Su Qing looked at him, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. Suddenly, she rushed forward and hugged the man smelling of engine oil. "I'll give you whatever you want. I'll marry you. I'll even give you the Su group." Lin Mo froze for a moment, his hands hovering in midair. He gave an awkward smile. "That's not necessary. Just a shop with air conditioning will do." Just then, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance, along with the roar of helicopters. Chen Jiangwo's special forces had finally arrived, though they were here to clean up the scene. Lin Mo looked up outside. "Looks like we really can't hide it this time." He patted Su Qing on the back. "Let's go, Boss Su. Let's go see the spectacle outside. After tonight, we're probably going to be famous on this planet." Su group. The storm in the underground garage had subsided, but the night sky of Zhonghai City was far from calm. Chen Jiangwo's special forces moved with lightning speed, like a group of silent cleaners, quickly packing up those 5 assassins embedded in the walls, or those with massive lumps on their foreheads, carrying them away. Lin Mo jumped down from the mech. The moment his feet hit the ground, he was surrounded by military doctors in white coats, checking vital signs, checking for radiation, checking for internal injuries. "Damn, he's covered in oil and rainwater. Prepare for disinfection quickly." Lin Mo was completely bewildered, dodging and shouting, "Don't pull down my pants. I'm fine, I just drove too fast on the way. I'm a bit carsick." Not far away, Su Qing wore a military overcoat, holding a cup of hot water in her hands, but her gaze never left the man surrounded by the crowd. That scene from moments ago was burned into her memory like a brand. That steel giant descending from the sky in a desperate moment, that effortless flick that sent assassins flying, and that slightly moody line, yet incredibly reassuring, "Miss Su." Chen Jiangwo had approached her unnoticed, his expression solemn. "You've been frightened. This was our oversight. We failed to fully predict the enemy's madness." Su Qing shook her head. Her fingers gripped the cup so hard they trembled. "Uncle Chen, I'm the one who caused the trouble. If only I hadn't been so reckless, insisting on this birthday gift. It's not your fault." Chen Jiangwo watched Lin Mo arguing with the doctors. Lin Mo, who was refusing the injection. A complex glint flashed in his eyes. Some geniuses are like awls, put in a pocket. Sooner or later, they'll pierce the fabric and show through. You were just the one who handed him the awl. And now, Su Qing glanced at the police lines being set up, and the faint flashes of cameras outside. Those were the media outlets arriving on the news. Now that it's become such a scene, how do we wrap this up? Chen Jiangwo let out a cold chuckle. He adjusted his military cap. He turned around, looking at the machine under the lights, the mech that still exuded a suffocating pressure. "Since we can't hide it anymore, let them see as much as they want. Only this time, we control the narrative." The next morning, the global internet went into a frenzy. Although the live stream signal was cut last night, although all surveillance footage was deleted, but in an era where everyone is a content creator, some things still slipped through the net. A blurry 5-second video was uploaded to an overseas forum. then like a virus, it spread to Twitter, YouTube, and the video's perspective came from a private car passing by the garage entrance. Its dashcam, a massive bolt of black lightning, tore through the heavy blast-proof shutter. Immediately after, a red steel giant with its back to the camera. A visible shockwave erupted from its rear thrusters, vanishing instantly into the depths of the garage, though the details were unclear. But that size, that speed, and the power to rip through steel like paper. Definitely not CG, the mysterious Mecha in Zhonghai. This isn't special effects. The Su family Mecha, it's real. These 3 keywords instantly topped global trending searches. The haters who were screaming online that it was a scam now felt as if they were being collectively strangled. Wang Yu hid in a dark hotel, staring at the video on her phone screen, her hand shaking so much she couldn't hold her cigarette. Impossible. This is impossible, she muttered to herself, her face pale, deathly pale. Those are props. It's fake. Su Qing must have hired actors for a show. I'll expose them, she typed frantically on her keyboard, trying to post a rebuttal. But right then, a loud crash. The hotel door was violently kicked open. A squad of heavily armed SWAT officers stormed in. Don't move! Wang Yu screamed, trying to crawl under the bed. What are you doing? I am the second miss of the Su family. I have a lawyer. Did Su Qing send you? I'll sue her. The lead officer looked coldly at the hysterical woman and produced an arrest warrant. Wang Yu, you are suspected of endangering national security, colluding with foreign spy organizations, and illegally leaking military secrets. This has nothing to do with Su Qing. This is an order from the National Security Bureau. It wasn't until the handcuffs clicked shut that Wang Yu finally realized she hadn't just provoked Su Qing, but a sleeping dragon.
10 Uhr AM.
The Blue Hall of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Beijing. An emergency press conference was underway. The room was packed with journalists from around the globe. Cameras were focused on the podium. Every face was filled with excitement and curiosity. They all wanted to know what that monster that appeared in Zhonghai last night actually was. The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stepped up, composed, even with a slight smile. Regarding the concerns of our friends in the media, last night, the so-called unidentified Mecha incident in Zhonghai City, I will provide a unified clarification. The room fell silent instantly, leaving only the sound of camera shutters. That was not a mecha, nor was it a so-called secret weapon. It is a prototype currently being tested by our country, a new multifunctional, all-terrain civilian engineering rescue robot. The audience erupted instantly. Civilian rescue? You call that thing that tears through steel with bare hands, crushes floors with one step, and carries a plasma cannon, even if it wasn't fully revealed? A civilian rescue robot? A blonde, blue-eyed Western journalist immediately raised their hand. Mr. Spokesperson, according to the video footage we have, the device demonstrated extreme mobility and destructive power, which clearly exceeds the scope of civilian engineering machinery. Furthermore, there are rumors that it used some kind of high-energy weapon on site. How do you explain this? The spokesperson smiled slightly. My dear journalist friend, you have quite a vivid imagination. First, regarding the destructive power, since it is engineering machinery, it must be capable of clearing debris and moving heavy objects. Its strength is simply enhanced to better serve earthquake and disaster relief. As for the high-energy weapon, it is actually a high-power plasma cutting device, primarily used to quickly cut through steel bars in ruins, to rescue trapped civilians. This is for saving lives. How could you call it a weapon? As for the mobility, the spokesperson shrugged, because we had to consider various complex disaster terrains, such as mountains, ruins, and swamps, so we designed it with 2 legs, to make it run faster. Is this not perfectly logical? The journalists below were stunned. It sounded so convincing that they couldn't even refute it. But this was blatant lying through his teeth. Who has a rescue robot 5 meters tall, whose cutting machine can blow up a rockery from a distance? To give everyone a more intuitive understanding of this product, the spokesperson continued, we have specially invited the chief designer of of this engineering robot. Mr. Lin Mo, to answer everyone's questions live. Lin Mo walked out in a black suit that clearly did not fit him. It was obviously borrowed at the last minute. The sleeves were too short. His hair had been slicked straight back. Every strand was frozen in place with gel. He walked out with a stiff expression. He had never seen this many cameras in his life. He felt like a duck being roasted over an open fire. Backstage, Chun Jangwo whispered through the earpiece. Lin Mo, remember what I taught you. If you slip up, just insist that it is for civilian rescue and brick moving. Even if they ask why it has machine guns, say they are for shooting mosquitoes. Lin Mo took a deep breath. He walked up to the microphone and forced out a smile uglier than crying. Hello, everyone. I'm the designer Lin Mo. A reporter from Eagle Country immediately fired the first question. Mr. Lin, about this rescue robot of yours, did you use such an aggressive red paint scheme? And its exterior design looks very much like a war machine from our Eagle Country sci-fi movies. Does that imply some hidden intention on your side? Lin Mo froze for a second. Red paint? Aggressive? Well, Lin Mo scratched his head. Even all that hair gel could not stop his old habit. Honestly, we chose red because Miss Sue said it looked festive. It was originally meant as a birthday gift for Grandpa. Red means blessings and long life, right? As for the appearance, I modified it from a tenuan plastic toy I bought at a street stall. I have not even seen your movies. The whole room burst into laughter. The reporter's face turned green. Then may I ask, what is that huge turbine thruster on its back? What is that for? Does a rescue robot need to fly? Oh, that. Lin Mo started making things up with a straight face. That is a high-powered blower. Think about it. If a disaster zone catches fire or fills with toxic gas, you turn on that fan to blow the smoke away, so rescuers can enter safely. That is perfectly reasonable, right? Then why is its arm strength said to be able to lift a tank? That is exaggerated. At most, it can lift a dump truck. After all, sometimes the road gets blocked, and you have to move the vehicles away. Then why does it have anti-radar coating? That is to prevent rust. I just used a thicker coat of paint. The entire press conference turned into Lin Mo's stand-up comedy show. No matter how the reporters tried to corner him, no matter how many traps they set, Lin Mo always answered with the simplest, most ridiculous, yet somehow most down-to-earth explanations. The fire control radar was for locating vital signs. The electromagnetic jammer was for blocking loud plaza dance speakers, so they would not disturb rescue operations. The mechanical claws were for peeling boiled eggs, to provide nutrition for the injured. In the end, Lin Mo was so annoyed by all the questions that he faced the camera and said one final line. To sum it up, everyone, this is just a slightly bigger, slightly stronger, slightly faster giant toy. Please do not overthink it. We Chinese people love peace. I am just a welder. I only want to fix e-bikes in peace. Thank you. After saying that, he ignored the unfinished conference and turned around to slip away. Backstage, Chin Jangwo laughed so hard his stomach hurt. He slapped his thigh. Good kid. The future head of the Strategic Bluffing Bureau has to be you. Meanwhile, across the ocean at the Pentagon, a group of generals stared at the live stream and slammed their coffee cups in rage. A rescue robot? Whose rescue robot uses a nuclear battery? And on top of that, it has phased array radar? This is blatant mockery of our intelligence. Find out exactly who this Lin Mo really is. I do not believe he is just a welder. He must be the mysterious person in charge of the Heavenly Palace project. Report, General. We checked. He really does own an e-bike repair shop, and his payment records show that the day before buying the materials, he spent 9.9 yuan on a handmade Mecha model guide. The generals fell silent. After the storm passed, Lin Mo's life changed completely. He could not go back to that shabby repair shop, although Chun Jangwo really did send people to fix his roof and even install central air conditioning. The place had already become an internet-famous check-in spot. Every day, hundreds of streamers camped outside and went live. Some people even stole the scrap screws he had thrown outside as souvenirs. Now residing in the core area of North War Zone Base 01. Here stands the Lin Mo laboratory, built specifically for him. They call it a laboratory, but it looks more like a massive scrap yard. This was Lin Mo's strict requirement. Too clean. I can't get any inspiration. That's what Lin Mo told Chin Jangwo. Get me some scrap metal. The older, the better. preferably the rusty kind, something with a soul, so the military had no choice but to pull from decommissioned equipment depots nationwide, hauling in dozens of trainloads of scrap tanks and planes. At this moment, Lin Mo is wearing his signature overalls. Though made of special bulletproof fiber, he's squatting in the middle of a pile of scrap, holding that old-fashioned gun, humming a little tune. In front of him, the birthday machine number 1 mech has now been officially named Xian Nu 01 by the military. The prototype is currently stripped to pieces. Chief Designer Lin, Dr. Zhao, walks in clutching a thick stack of documents, his face a picture of helplessness. Ever since Lin Mo became the chief designer, they, the actual scientists, have been reduced to nothing more than cleanup crews. Orders from the military commission have arrived. Dr. Zhao pushed up his glasses. Recently, the Nimitz-class carrier strike group of the Angjiang nation plans to conduct freedom of navigation exercises in these waters. Intelligence shows they've brought 12 Raptor exoskeletons and 2 classified Titan heavy mechs. The higher-ups are asking if Xian Nu 01 can be taken out for a spin. Lin Mo doesn't even look up, currently lubricating a finger joint of the mech. He's using lard. He claims it's smoother than industrial lubricant. You mean go fight, right? Lin Mo curls his lip. Old Zhao, this is a rescue robot. Can we stop thinking about killing and fighting? Dr. Zhao's mouth twitches. Chief Designer Lin, you just installed a set yesterday of missile racks stripped from a J-20, and you're telling me this is for rescue? Those are for launching rescue supplies, Lin Mo says confidently. If the disaster victims are hungry, I'll fire a missile over, filled with steamed buns. How convenient. Dr. Zhao decides not to argue. Anyway, the higher-ups mean that the opposition is coming in strong this time, clearly targeting that last video. They want to test our limits. If we don't show our blade, they'll just keep pushing. Commander Chun asks, if you go up against those 2 titans, what are your chances? Lin Mo stops his work, stands up and wipes the lard off his hands. Titans? Lin Mo thinks for a moment. I've seen the photos. Clunky, oversized, and crude, relying entirely on stacked armor. Things like that are nothing more than moving targets. But Dr. Zhao hesitates. This exercise is at sea. The enemy has carrier strike group support and air superiority, while our mech is invincible on land. It can't fly. Once the enemy provokes us at sea, we won't be able to reach them. Who says it can't fly? Lin Mo suddenly turns around, flashing a wide white grin, looking like a fox that just stole a chicken. Look at this. Lin Mo points to those 2 massive things on the mech's back. The turbine fans he previously claimed were hair dryers. Now, those 2 fans have been dismantled, revealing dense coils inside, and strange transistors. Aren't these the turbine fans from before? Dr. Zhao leans in for a closer look. But it looks like you added something. What's this purple stuff? Amethyst. It's a negative ion generator I bought from an online shop, Lin Mo says with a straight face. Dr. Zhao nearly falls to his knees. A negative ion generator? You want to purify the air for the enemy? Something like that. Lin Mo pats the massive metal casing. Actually, when I saved Su Qing that day, I noticed a problem. The mech jumps high, but the airtime is too short. So I figured, could I use the principle of electromagnetic anti-gravity? Electromagnetic anti-gravity? Dr. Zhao's voice jumps an octave. Chief Designer Lin, that's something in theoretical physics. That is still being debated. You've solved it. It's not that mystical. Lin Mo waved his hand. I just figured microwaves can heat water molecules. So if I tune the microwave frequency to a specific band, could it heat the air, creating an upward high-pressure air cushion, and then combine it with this negative ion generator to create a charge difference, utilizing the geomagnetic field. In reverse, that's the idea. Look at maglev trains, don't they float too? Dr. Zhao was completely bewildered. Microwaving air, negative ions, geomagnetic fields, anti-gravity flight. If these formulas were in a paper, the reviewers would tear it to shreds. Have you tried it? Dr. Zhao asked tremulously. Lin Mo pointed to the lab ceiling. Dr. Zhao looked up and saw the 10-meter-high reinforced concrete ceiling, had a massive circular hole in it. I didn't control the power well last night. It was a bit too high, Lin Mo said sheepishly. Remember to find someone to patch it up later. Dr. Zhao stared at the hole and swallowed hard. You call this flying a bit too high? This is trying to blast straight to heaven. Since it can fly, Dr. Zhao took a deep breath. His eyes began to glow with excitement. Then we have air superiority. Chief Engineer Lin, this is a strategic breakthrough. We need to conduct sea trials immediately. Lin Mo stopped the excited Dr. Zhao. This thing has a side effect. It's a bit noisy when flying, and because it ionizes the air, creates a visual effect similar to an aurora. It's too flashy. Doesn't fit the low-profile persona of our rescue robot. Why fear being flashy? Dr. Zhao waved his hand dismissively. We're about to confront a carrier strike group. The more badass, the better. Chief Engineer Lin, please get ready. Commander Chun said. Airlift it directly to the East China Sea front tomorrow morning. In a certain Eastern Sea area, the waves surged. The U.S. Nimitz-class nuclear aircraft carrier was cutting through the waves. On the deck, 2 8-meter-tall black mechs, Titan Type I, were undergoing final calibrations. These were secret weapons jointly developed by Boston Dynamics and Lockheed Martin. Though their movements were slightly clumsy, they were equipped with heavy Gatling guns and Hellfire missiles, true killing machines. Report, sir. Chinese naval fleet spotted ahead. On the bridge of the U.S. fleet, the U.S. High Command lowered their binoculars. A smug smile played on their lips. If they enter the restricted zone, they will bear the consequences, sir. There seems to be something red on their ship. Smith frowned and raised his binoculars again. On the deck of the distant Chinese destroyer, that familiar red figure stood prominently. Humph, it really is that rescue robot. Smith sneered. What's the point of bringing it to sea? To be a mascot? Our Titans can slide across the deck. What can it do? Jump overboard and commit suicide? Right then, the red mech moved. It didn't move clumsily, as Smith had expected. It slowly spread its arms, the 2 massive turbine thrusters on its back. A sound never heard before, a high-frequency vibration like a whale's low moan, instantly pierced through the roar of the waves, reaching the sonar of every U.S. warship. Then, under everyone's horrified gaze, that red mech weighing dozens of tons actually began to float slowly.
No exhaust flames.
No black smoke. It was as if an invisible hand of God was lifting it, defying the law of universal gravitation, floating weightlessly in midair. My God! The binoculars slipped from Smith's hand. What kind of technology is this? But it wasn't over yet. In the communication channel, that nightmare voice suddenly echoed. This time, it forced its way through the all-band public broadcast with a thick Chinese accent. Can you hear me? This is Rescue 1. To the guy driving the big boat ahead, you're blocking my view of the ocean. Look, please move aside. Otherwise, if my hand slips and I drop a rescue bun on you, I'm afraid it might smash right through your deck. Along with the sound, the Shen Nu 01 Mecha hovering in midair. Its rear racks slowly opened, revealing 2 pods labeled relief supplies, but they looked exactly like hypersonic anti-ship missiles. And in the mecha's hand, it suddenly produced a massive light sword. No, that's a plasma cutter. Except Lin Mo had cranked the power to the max. The beam stretched a full 40 meters. This is a rescue robot, Smith roared. What kind of rescue robot carries a 40-meter blade? Retreat immediately. That day, the Eagle Nation's fleet, without a single shot fired, due to a navigation system failure, made an emergency U-turn and fled the area. And the photo of the red mecha hovering over the sea, holding a 40-meter light sword, became the cover of Time magazine's Year in Review. The headline simply read, "The rabbit is formidable. God is Chinese." Inside the cockpit, Lin Mo watched the fleeing fleet and sighed with regret. Damn, I didn't even get to test my anion light sword. I heard it can sterilize things. I wanted to give their aircraft carrier a little disinfection. 3 days after the Eastern Sea standoff, the global landscape underwent a subtle and ridiculous shift. Although the Eagle Nation withdrew, they remained stubborn in the international media, insisting that the retreat was caused by navigation chaos due to abnormal weather, and hinting that Huaxia used some holographic projection technology to create panic. To this, the rabbit replied with a single word, This one word caused little damage, but the insult was devastating. The Eagle Nation's high command completely lost it. In the Eagle Nation's conference room, ashtrays were smashed to pieces. Several high-ranking officials, with faces pale with rage, stared at the Global Influence Assessment report submitted by the think tank. Because of that farce of retreating without a fight in the Eastern Sea, the Eagle Nation's international prestige plummeted. Even a few lackeys who had always followed them started secretly sending fruit baskets to the rabbit. We need a war, a crushing, overwhelming victory, to prove to the entire world that we are still the overlords of the blue planet. The president roared in the Oval Office, slamming his desk. His gaze swept across the world map. Eventually, he pointed his finger at a small nation in West Asia. This country not only possessed rich rare earth deposits, but had also recently signed a deep strategic cooperation agreement with the rabbit. More importantly, its military strength was as thin as a sheet of paper. An excuse was quickly fabricated. Carol is suspected of secretly developing weather-scale weapons of mass destruction. In less than 24 hours, the Eagle Nation's 7th Fleet and 2 full-strength aerial strike wings arrived at the city's doorstep. Squadrons of F-35s, like a black cloud of birds, swept across the city's skies. Precision-guided bombs turned their air defenses and radar stations into rubble in an instant. On the ground, M1 main battle tanks crushed the borderline, kicking up clouds of yellow sand. Carol's conventional forces, under the Eagle Nation's multidimensional strike, collapsed completely in less than 3 hours. Amidst the relentless shelling, Carol's leaders hid in underground bunkers. Trembling, they dialed the high-level encrypted line, connecting them to Yenjing Huaxia. The Carol officials wept on the other end of the line. Save us. If you don't intervene, Carol will vanish from the map today. As long as Huaxia is willing to help, all of Carol's rare earth mines will be given priority to Huaxia for the next 50 years. The Yenjing Supreme Command Center. The leaders watched the satellite images of Carol's devastation. Their brows furrowed. Direct intervention would clearly be inappropriate and could easily trigger a total war. Just as the room fell into a brief silence, a high-ranking official from the Northern Legion coughed softly, a glint of cunning flashing in his eyes. Chiefs, didn't Carol just say that they are facing a severe humanitarian disaster? Our country hasn't just developed a large-scale all-terrain disaster relief device? Everyone paused. Then the realization hit them. All eyes turned toward Commander Chun. Commander Chun, are you saying? Commander Chun grinned. Carol has an earthquake. The Eagle Nation's tank units are lost over there. In the spirit of international humanitarianism, let's send a rescue robot to help them clear the roads and clear away some construction debris while we're at it. Makes sense, right? Half an hour later, Northern War Zone Base 01. Piercing alarms shatter the night sky. Lin Mo, wearing an oil-stained tank top, inside the laboratory, is tuning a metal plate emitting a ghostly blue glow. This is the deep-sea cold yen stone, which Su Qing, CEO of the Su Group, spent a fortune to snatch from the overseas black market last night. A superconducting cooling module. Chief Engineer Lin. Emergency mission. Commander Chen's holographic projection cuts into the lab. Take your toy to Carol for disaster relief. Lin Mo's eyes light up. He casually takes that priceless superconducting module and slams it into the core reactor slot of Shen Nu 01. The Eastern Sea run wasn't satisfying enough. This time, let's test the sandproofing on a desert map. Carol City, High Council Plaza. A high-ranking armored commander from the States stands atop a tank's turret, chewing a cigar, preparing to address the embedded reporter's cameras and deliver a victory speech. In front of him, hundreds of heavy tanks have completed the encirclement. In the sky, a dozen Apache attack helicopters circle above. Just as he opens his mouth to speak, the sky suddenly goes dark. Not birds, not clouds, not storm clouds, but a terrifying shockwave breaking the sound barrier. plummeting straight down from the atmosphere, with a thunderous crash like a meteorite hitting Earth. The plaza's tiles shatter and roll like waves. Amidst the billowing dust, a machine painted brilliant red, with a giant cross emblazoned on its chest, though it was just temporarily taped on with red electrical tape. The behemoth slowly straightens its body. Over the communication channel, there rings out once again the voice that haunts the nightmares of the U.S. High Command, in a Chinese accent. "Can you hear me, William? This is the Rabbit Pacific Humanitarian Relief Contractor. To the friends in those tin cans ahead, you're blocking my rescue route. WLH, please move aside. Please move aside. Open fire. Tear that hunk of iron to shreds." The U.S. commander screams hysterically. Instantly, hundreds of tank cannons fire simultaneously. But as the smoke clears, the red Mecha is completely unscathed. A pale blue energy shield ripples across the Mecha's surface. "Obstructing rescue efforts means I'll have to clear the site first." Lin Mo's fingers fly across the controls. Shen Nu 01 slams both hands into the bedrock. The massive mechanical arms twist with terrifying force, ripping up a 100-meter slab of the Earth's crust. Dozens of enemy little toys don't even get a chance to fire, before being buried under hundreds of tons of rubble. Beyond the horizon, 8 enemy toy planes come screaming in. Lin Mo smiles faintly and activates the high-altitude fire suppression spray system. Thousands of silver metal spheres explode in midair, forming a powerful magnetic EMP cloud. 8 fifth-generation stealth fighters go dark instantly, plummeting one by one into the desert. In less than 10 minutes, the arrogant toys of the states have been turned into a massive scrap yard. Final step, clearing the remaining hazards. From the hand of Shen Nu 01, pops out a 40-meter high-temperature blue plasma blade. Screech. A bone-chilling sound of metal shearing. The plasma blade, like a hot knife through butter, slices through the barrels of over 50 remaining toys, shearing them all flat in one clean sweep. The U.S. commander sits on his tank, his legs shaking with fear. Lin Mo pilots the Mecha toward him. A massive mechanical foot crushes the tank's treads. "According to system determination, your vehicle was illegally parked. As a professional rescue team, we have completed for you the harmless dismantling of your vehicle. Additionally, here is the service bill." A hatch opens on Shen Nu 01's chest. A piece of printed paper the size of a double bed flutters down, landing right on Major General Williams' head. It reads in English, "Heavy machinery deployment fee, plasma cutter wear fee, mental anguish fee, total $8 billion US. Looking at this absurd bill, the U.S. commander's eyes roll back, and he faints from sheer rage. Not far away, at the exit of the air raid shelter, high-ranking officials of Kala City were moved to tears. They handed over all the soil-absorbing mineral veins, grateful for Huaxia's humanitarian rescue. Meanwhile, this one-sided, obstacle-clearing operation was being live-streamed in HD across the global network. The entire internet exploded. What kind of rescue contractor is this? Your rescue team sends an $8 billion bill? See that giant red cross? That's a physical cross meant to bury the enemy. Inside the Pentagon, the atmosphere was suffocating. The president watched the screen, seeing Major General William collapse. He trembled with rage, smashing his coffee cup. "This is the easy target you talked about? A single rescue Mecha took on half of our theater's forces alone. Mr. President," a general reported, wiping cold sweat. "The bad news is, Huaxia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs just issued a statement urging us to settle the $8 billion environmental cleanup fee immediately. Otherwise, next time, they will dispatch the Shen 02 heavy agricultural sower to provide greening assistance on our home soil." The president clutched his chest, collapsing straight into his seat. Meanwhile, at the edge of the atmosphere, Shen Nu 01 was flying at a terrifying Mach 3, returning to Huaxia. Inside the cockpit, Lin Mo didn't feel like a national hero at all. He looked miserable, staring at the holographic projection on the console. "Warning. Superconducting cooling module completely overloaded and melted. Material structural failure rate 999%.
I'm screwed. I'm totally screwed.
I've really messed up this time. Lin Mo's scalp tingled as he heard the alarms. To maximize the cool factor in front of the world, and to flatten those 50 tank barrels, in the most shocking way possible, he pushed the energy output to a staggering 250%. The price was the high-grade deep-sea cooling module that Su Qing, the billionaire CEO, spent $300 million to acquire, had now become a useless lump of slag. $300 million. How many years of unpaid labor in the military will it take to pay this back? Lin Mo let out a long sigh. He could almost imagine the kind smile that would appear on Su Qing's ice-cold face. 3 hours later, Shen Nu 01, emitting a trail of black smoke, landed guiltily on the hidden landing pad of Northern Theater Base 01. While the ground crew were celebrating, Lin Mo quietly removed the charred, stinking scrap and slipped into the lab. In the lab, staring at that charred, stinking piece of junk, he hadn't even been worrying for a few hours when a piercing, maximum-level combat alarm suddenly tore through the silence of Northern Theater Base 01. Crimson alarm lights flashed frantically in the corridors. Over the base intercom, Commander Chen's urgent and commanding voice rang out, his voice almost cracking.
All combat personnel.
A high-intensity, unknown energy source has appeared at the edge of the East Sea ADIZ. This is not a drill. All sea-facing missile arrays. Enter Level 1 combat readiness. Repeat. This is not a drill. Lin Mo's heart skipped a beat. He didn't even bother putting down the scrap as he bolted from the lab like a cheetah, sprinting toward the underground command center. As he pushed open the heavy blast doors, the giant holographic screen was broadcasting footage from the high-altitude reconnaissance drones. The Eagle country's retaliation came faster than anyone had anticipated, and far more insane. Upon the turbulent waters of the East Sea, a colossal entity painted in dark gold, like a prehistoric behemoth, was walking across the waves. Its size was more than twice that of Shen Nu 01, standing nearly 40 meters tall, like a mobile fortress of steel. It didn't use the conventional bipedal design. Its chassis consisted of 4 massive anti-gravity air cushions and propulsion matrices, carving for bottomless white furrows across the surface of the sea. Its upper body was a fusion of heavy composite armor and a dense array of menacing cannons. What the hell is that thing? A transforming mecha from the Eagle country?
Lin Montag gasped.
Stepping quickly toward the tactical console. The Eagle country's Advanced Research Projects Agency, a forbidden project sealed 10 years ago. The Atlas Heavy Assault Mecha, the intelligence officer typed furiously, cold sweat pouring down his forehead, his fingers trembling slightly. They actually dug this monster out from the underground bunkers of Nevada and rebooted. Data on the right side of the screen flickered wildly. A blinding, deep red halo shrouded Atlas's chest. Its power source isn't a standard high-density battery, but a miniature cold fusion reactor. Commander Chun spat through gritted teeth. Those lunatics actually crammed that thing into a mecha before he could finish. Atlas, on the big screen, suddenly halted its advance. It slowly raised its right arm, a massive electromagnetic railgun, accompanied by a visible white sonic boom cloud, exploding from the muzzle. A blinding high-pressure plasma beam instantly pierced through the clouds. On the opposing side, 2 drones cruising at high altitude didn't even have time to evade before being vaporized by that terrifying beam. Provocation. This is blatant provocation. Commander Chun slammed his palm hard onto the alloy console. They entered our airspace under the bullshit pretext of rescue, forcing their way into our identification zone. If we use conventional weapons, we can't possibly break that magnetic deflection shield. The air in the command room seemed to freeze. Everyone's gaze fell upon Lin Mo. Commander Chun turned his head, his eyes bloodshot, staring intensely at Lin Mo. Chief Engineer Lin, I'll ask one thing. Is Xuanu 01 still fit for combat? Reporting, Commander. The deep-sea cold flame superconducting cooling module has been completely incinerated. If we force a takeoff now, we can only use the military-grade, backup air-cooled and liquid nitrogen hybrid module. In this state, Xuanu's output must be strictly limited to under 80%. Once it crosses the red line, the chassis will fail to dissipate heat and spontaneously disintegrate from within. 80% is enough. Launch it. Commander Chun suddenly drew his sidearm and slammed it onto the table. Even if it were a tractor, it would have to be driven to the Eastern Sea today. Not a single inch of our waters to the enemy. Prepare for launch. 10 minutes later, Xuannu 01, carrying its unhealed wounds, amidst a piercing roar, was launched from underground, its slender silver-white frame still dazzling under the sunlight. But Lin Mo knew that this mecha was like a boxer with a high fever, forced to step into the ring. However, reality was far colder and more brutal than lab data. When Xuannu 01 broke through the clouds and met the dark golden atlas head-on over the Eastern Sea, the crushing pressure of the technological gap instantly became suffocating. Atlas didn't bother with any close-quarters combat techniques. It was a mobile disaster with infinite energy. Swarms of micro-homing missiles, like an enraged swarm of bees, trailing long plumes of white smoke, completely surrounded Xuannu 01. Then, the plasma cannons on its arms began to roar frantically, weaving an airtight web of death. Inside the cockpit, Lin Mo's eyes were locked onto the holographic screen, staring at the dense trajectory prediction lines. Amidst the concentrated fire, Xuannu 01 executed various evasive maneuvers that defied aerodynamic limits, but against absolute fire suppression, even the most exquisite piloting felt futile. Warning: left-wing auxiliary balance armor damaged 15%. Backup liquid nitrogen cooling system has reached critical temperature. Warning: surface temperature exceeds 800 degrees. Titanium alloy armor showing signs of softening.
Lin Mo was drenched in sweat.
The high-intensity overload pushed his nerves to the breaking point. He tried to close the distance for melee combat, but Atlas's anti-gravity cushion chassis was incredibly agile over the sea, always maintaining a perfect firing distance of over 3 kilometers. Damn it! You think a giant battery makes you invincible? A flash of ruthlessness crossed Lin Mo's eyes. He ripped off the comms unit from his throat, released the safety locks XUA, power output forced to 120%. The vector engines on Xuannu 01's back blasted a blinding, ghostly blue flame, transforming into a silver flash of lightning. He plowed through 2 plasma blasts that grazed his shoulder, armor melting away in large chunks, but he finally charged right up to Atlas. The weapon bay on the mecha's back snapped open, revealing a 15-meter-long slicing blade, held in the grip of Xuannu 01. With an unstoppable momentum, it slashed violently at Atlas's shield. A deafening clash of metal echoed across the sea and sky. However, a thunderous strike capable of cleaving ordinary mechs only managed to create, on Atlas's electromagnetic deflection shield, a series of violent ripples. The blade of the slaying sword, unable to withstand the massive recoil, actually snapped in half. Then Atlas, with a mechanical arm thicker than
Xuannu 01 Sadig,
swung back violently, like swatting an annoying fly, smashed heavily into Xuannu 01's chest armor. Lin Mo felt as if he had been hit head-on by a heavy truck, a metallic taste in his throat. A huge spray of blood splattered across the inside of the holographic visor. Xuannu 01, like a kite with a severed string, plummeted toward the ocean. The superalloy chest armor caved in deeply. Electrical sparks exploded wildly in midair. Core temperature overload at 300%. Backup cooling modules have physically melted down. System forced shutdown. Main power entering paralysis protection mode.
Lin Montag, retreat.
Activate the escape pod immediately. That's an order. Through the communicator came Commander Chen's hoarse and desperate roar, looking at the sky, at Atlas, flaunting its power like a god. Lin Mo, consumed by resentment, used a blood-stained fist to slam heavily against the control panel, activating the emergency escape and unit recovery sequence.
Xuannu 01,
Using its remaining backup attitude thrusters, ejected thick thermite, interference smoke, making a desperate crash landing toward the inland coastline. Retreat. This battle didn't just shake the eastern waters, but through the arrogant broadcasts of the Eagle Nation, it shocked the entire world. Inside the Eagle Nation's Oval Office, the high-ranking officials were beaming with joy, laughing as they held their wine glasses. Tell the media, 24-hour global loop broadcast of Atlas cruising through the eastern waters. Meanwhile, at Northern Legion Base 01, in the emergency repair workshop, the air was thick with the acrid smell of burning. The wrecked frame of Shen Nu 01 was barely held up by massive alloy scaffolds, like a critically wounded soldier fighting for breath. Commander Chun watched as medical staff put a cast on Lin Mo's fractured left arm, his eyes reddening. Shaolin, you did your best. Just coming back alive is enough. This isn't your fault. There is simply a gap in technology.
No, Commander.
Lin Mo pushed the medic's hand away, ignoring the piercing pain in his left arm. With his uninjured right hand, he pulled out the piece worth 300 million, which had been burnt into a blackened cinder, the deep-sea cold jade stone, gripping the scrap tightly in his palm. There was no defeat in his eyes. Instead, there burned a near-maniacal flame of mutual destruction. Commander, give me 3 days. Lin Mo's voice was as raspy as sandpaper. Conventional methods won't work. Then I'll risk my life. This damn stone, though its external structure was destroyed last time, but at its atomic core, that extreme superconductivity and heat absorption still exist. If I crush it completely to the nano level, then fuse it into a highly toxic liquid lead-heavy alloy, and inject it directly into the Mecha's neural hydraulic transmission system. Chief Engineer Lin, are you insane? This is like injecting liquid nitrogen at -200 degrees directly into someone's veins. If a single circulation pipe ruptures during combat, not only will the frame suffer an instant ice explosion, but you, the pilot, won't even have a chance to eject. You will instantly be frozen into a statue of absolute zero. This is the only way we can turn the tide. I'm not just going to slap them back in the face. I'm going to personally tear that nuclear-powered scrap metal, part piece by piece, for the next 72 hours. In the underground depths of Base 01, in the top-secret laboratory, it became Lin Mo's personal slaughterhouse. Lin Mo, like a tireless madman, his eyes bloodshot, personally crushed and purified that $300 million scrap, bit by bit, fusing it into the toxic, high-temperature liquid metal. He completely rebooted Shen Nu 01, all of its low-level logic codes, replacing them with a system he wrote on the fly, a suicidal cooling cycle called absolute zero boiling. Early morning, as the first ray of dawn from the east struggled to pierce the thick fog over the sea, the Atlas Mecha, the U.S. pilot, was leisurely sipping coffee. Suddenly, the piercing shriek of the highest-level radar alarm exploded. Warning, ultra-high speed, high-energy object approaching at Mach 45. Thermal signal extremely low. On the edge of absolute zero. The next second, the thick clouds in the high heavens were violently torn open, leaving a massive void. A Mecha, bathed in a deep, haunting blue, the surface, due to the extreme cold, constantly emitting thick, white icy mist, slammed into the ocean like a meteor of divine punishment. The colossal impact instantly triggered a localized mini-tsunami. The waves receded, the mist cleared. Shen Nu 01 modified stood imposing upon the sea. To accommodate the new system, the original external heat vents were all physically sealed. Beneath the silver and black armor, thick conduits were faintly visible, glowing with a haunting blue liquid light. Only 3 days of repairs and you dare come back to die? The pilot sneered. He pushed the nuclear reactor to full output. 2 devastating plasma beams tore through the air toward Shen Nu 01 with overwhelming force. Lin Mo, on the holographic screen, remained eerily calm. He took a deep breath of air smelling strongly of machine oil. His hands suddenly moved across the console, executing an incredibly complex command. Array released. The final physical valve opened. 0-degree boiling system fully activated. Push engine output to 400%. An utterly terrifying chill exploded instantly from the center of Shen Nu 01. An unbelievable sight unfolded. The raging waters within a 500-meter radius, in the blink of an eye, were frozen into impenetrable black ice, just as the plasma beams were a split second away from impact. Shen Nu 01 moved, empowered by the 0-degree boiling system's superconducting cooling. It unleashed a terrifying thrust that defied all mechanical logic.
A bizarre, sharp Z-shaped zigzag maneuver.
Carving a long trail of ice shards across the surface.
Instant accélération.
Slashing straight into Atlas's absolute melee blind spot. Shen Nu 01 drew no weapons. Instead, its arms reached out like phantoms, its index finger precisely locked onto the armor gap of Atlas's right arm joint, using the opponent's strength against them. Ever heard of it? Lin Mo let out a wild roar. He yanked hard, controlling Xian Nu 01 to use the enemy's forward momentum. A staggering torque exploded from its waist, executing a perfect spinning shoulder throw. The 200-ton nuclear monster, Atlas, was actually ripped clean off the ground, slamming violently into the frozen sea. The ice layer collapsed instantly, before the enemy could recover. Xian Nu 01 had already leaped high, its right fist clenched. The haunting blue liquid conduits on its arm suddenly erupted with a blinding light like a supernova, converting all cooling energy in this moment into raw, violent kinetic energy. A level 8 Iron Mountain Lin Xian Nu 01's entire right shoulder became the most terrifying industrial hammer in existence, trailing a white sonic boom cloud at a terrifying speed exceeding Mach 5, slamming brutally into the gem-embedded, ultra-thick composite armor of Atlas's reactor chest. The specialized composite armor shattered like a fragile cracker. Xian Nu 01's arm pierced straight through Atlas's chest, ripping apart the core power lines of the main reactor. Atlas's massive frame twitched violently a few times. The red glow in its eyes flickered twice, then went completely dark. This once arrogant beast of war had been reduced to a massive piece of scrap metal floating on the ice. Battle over. Total time: less than 30 seconds. Inside the building's live broadcast hall, a deathly silence fell. The president, face ashen, slumped onto the expensive Persian carpet, completely broken. Meanwhile, the Chinese web and all military districts were absolutely erupting. Half an hour later, as Xian Nu 01 used its tow cables, dragging the mountain-like wreckage of Atlas, slowly returning to Northern War Zone Base 01, the entire base descended into a sea of madness. Amidst the deafening cheers, Lin Mo's face was deathly pale, frost emanating from every inch of his body. Legs shaking, he slid down the boarding stairs. "We won? Chief Engineer Lin, we won. You are a national hero." Dr. Zhao's face was flushed with excitement, but Lin Mo pushed Dr. Zhao aside. Stumbling and rushing, he ran toward the underground laboratory. His heart was bleeding profusely. That 30-second 0-degree boiling, overclock burst was indeed peak coolness, but the cost was devastating. He had completely burned through the liquid coolant, mixed with 300 million yuan worth of deep-sea coal gem powder. It was completely dried up. Moreover, under 400% overload operation, all 4 hydraulic drive shaft main neuron skeletons were completely scrapped. The total repair costs could build nearly half a brand new frame. Damn it, I won. The Americans must be thrilled, but this time I've truly lost my shirt. Meanwhile, inside Northern War Zone Base 01, there was a festive atmosphere like New Year's. To celebrate the Xian Nu 01 prototype's perfect debut in the East China Sea, although the official statement was a rescue robot maritime wind resistance test, the base held a high-profile victory banquet. But Lin Mo, the man of the hour, was currently hiding in a corner of the lab, staring miserably at a piece of scrap in his hand. "Chief Engineer Lin, the banquet is about to start. Commander Chun is waiting for you." Dr. Zhao pushed open the door. Seeing Lin Mo like this, he couldn't help but be stunned. "Are you doing scientific research?" "Research my ass."
Lin Montag seit.
Throwing the scrap back onto the table. "I'm thinking about how to survive this. Miss Su is here." Lin Mo pointed outside. "She's here to discuss additional investment and tech licensing, but I know she's actually here to check up on me. Last time, to save her, I piloted the Mecha a bit too violently. She said I didn't take care of public property and wants to deduct my final payment." Dr. Zhao couldn't help but laugh. "Chief Engineer Lin, you're being a bit humble-braggy. The whole world is begging to buy your patents, and you're worried about a small final payment?" Lin Mo shook his head, his gaze deep. "This is a matter of principle. Besides, it seems she wants me to meet her parents this time." Dr. Zhao's gossip instinct instantly ignited. "Meeting parents? Don't you see Elder Su every day?" "Not Elder Su." Lin Mo lowered his voice. "The Su Qing's parents. I heard they are tough characters too. One is in finance, the other in art. They think that although I'm a famous welder now, I'm still just a rough man, and they fear Su Qing and I have nothing in common. Dr.
Schau patted Lin Montag's shoulder sympathetically.
That is indeed a challenge. So what gift did you prepare? Lin Mo's eyes lit up. He pulled a small, dark box from his pocket. Do you think this will work? Dr. Zhao leaned in to look. A flower lay inside the box. But it wasn't a real flower, but a rose crafted from an unknown metal. The petals were thin as paper, showing a dreamy gradient of blue and purple. The stamen consisted of gold wires as thin as hair, with tiny crystals embedded at the tips. Dr. Zhao gasped. Titanium alloy? It's not just titanium alloy. Lin Mo introduced proudly. I made this from the scraps cut by that lightsaber. This titanium alloy has undergone plasma recasting, and its hardness is 3 times that of a diamond. And look at this color. I created this by controlling the thickness of the oxide layer, using the principle of light interference to get this aurora blue. It's the same color as the Mecha's afterburners. Looking at the flower, Dr. Zhao felt as if he saw endless funds burning. Aerospace-grade titanium alloy combined with nano-welding and controlling the oxide layer thickness. The cost of this flower could probably buy a house in Zhonghai City. This is called everlasting romance. Plus, this flower has a hidden function. I hid a high-frequency transmitter in the stamen. Lin Mo pointed to the crystals. If Miss Su ever encounters danger, she just needs to press the stem, and all electronic devices within 5 kilometers will be instantly paralyzed. An anti-creep gadget. What the hell do you mean? Anti-creep gadget. This is a regional electromagnetic pulse weapon, and you're using this as a token of love? At the victory banquet, Suyin was wearing a well-tailored white professional suit today. She had less of her usual arrogance and more of a capable air, but her eyes were constantly searching the crowd. Old man Su Jinhai is in high spirits today, looking radiant. That kid must be hiding in some corner again, tinkering with his scrap metal. Geniuses always have their quirks. Suyin blushed. Grandpa, who's looking for him? I'm here to see the Mecha. Just then, the doors opened. Lin Mo walked in wearing his timeless work clothes, though they were washed clean, striding inside. Behind him, followed Dr. Zhao with a look of admiration, and several young female researchers. Hello, Chief Engineer Lin. Chief Engineer Lin, could you give me an autograph? Chief Engineer Lin, are you free tonight? I'd like to ask about that hydraulic valve issue. Newly assigned female PhDs crowded around Lin Mo, their eyes sparkling with admiration. In their eyes, the man who could turn a microwave into an anti-gravity engine is 10,000 times sexier than any pop star. Su Qing watched this scene, nearly crushing the champagne glass in her hand. Unbelievable, it's only been a few days, and he's already the nation's heartthrob. Lin Mo struggled to squeeze through the crowd, and spotted Su Qing immediately. His eyes lit up as he walked quickly toward her. Boss Su, about the payment. Su Qing glared at him, but couldn't hide the smile in her eyes. With so many people here, can you stop talking about money every second? You're practically a national hero now. Have some class, will you? Lin Mo scratched his head. Then let's discuss the depreciation fee for the Mecha. Su Qing laughed in frustration. Just as she was about to speak, she noticed the black box in Lin Mo's hand. What's this? Lin Mo shyly handed her the box. This is for you. Consider it an after-sales gift. Su Qing opened the box. A titanium alloy rose shimmering in aurora blue, glowed brilliantly under the lights. The surroundings fell silent instantly. Those in the know, like the hundreds of scientists present, gasped in shock, amazed by the godlike craftsmanship. Those who didn't understand, like the officials and their families, were completely captivated by this dreamlike beauty. Su Qing was stunned. She had seen countless jewels, but had never seen a beauty so full of power and technology. I welded it myself. This shade of blue was hard to find. I wasted hundreds of pounds of titanium to get it right. It won't rust, nor will it fade. As long as you don't use it to crack walnuts, it will last 10,000 years. Su Qing looked into Lin Mo's sincere eyes, and felt a sudden tug at her heartstrings. This man doesn't know how to give flowers, doesn't know sweet talk, but he uses the hardest metal to weld an eternity for you. I love it. I'm glad you like it. By the way, there's a button on the stem. Whatever you do, don't press it randomly, or this entire banquet hall will lose power. Just then, the big screen suddenly cut off. The celebratory video that was playing was interrupted by a breaking news report. Breaking news: the daughter of Zhonghai's former richest man and former Su Group executive Wang Yu underwent her first public interrogation in detention today. She not only admitted to hiring internet trolls to smear the rescue robot, but also revealed the list of foreign forces she conspired with. In the footage, Wang Yu wore a prison uniform, her hair cropped short, looking gaunt and unrecognizable. She wept bitterly before the camera. I was wrong. I really didn't know the Mecha was real. I was just jealous of Su Qing. That foreigner told me, as long as I ruined Su Qing's reputation, they would give me a green card. The banquet hall was filled with gasps, reaping what she sowed.
Susenai commented coldly.
Su Qing looked at the screen, her heart long devoid of hatred, leaving only a faint sense of pity. Lin Mo, if it weren't for you, I might have been ruined by her by now. It was no big deal. Lin Mo popped a piece of cake into his mouth. We're partners, after all. By the way, since you've accepted my flower, does that mean the final payment? Su Qing gave a mischievous smile, shaking the flowers in his hand. These flowers are the deposit. The rest, for a lifetime. The crowd cheers. Thunderous applause. Only Lin Mo stands frozen with the cake, his mind racing. A lifetime? That's how many work hours? How many times the salary does that count as? Is there overtime pay? But warm moments are always brief. That night, in Chun Jiangwo's office, the atmosphere was heavy as lead.
Lin Mo was urgently recalled.
Cream still on the corner of his mouth. Chun Jiangwo pointed at the massive sea map on the wall. The US is truly desperate this time. They want to play a dirty game with us. They lost face on the surface. Now they want to take it back from the depths. On the map, a deep-sea trench between the eastern waters and the Pacific, marked with a red skull. This is our deep-sea listening array. 2 hours ago, it suddenly went completely silent. Chun Jiangwo's voice was low. The last data transmitted shows a massive heat source moving rapidly on the seabed, speed exceeding 80. The fastest submarines only hit 40 knots. Is this thing a torpedo? No, it's even larger than the last one. Chun Jiangwo pulled up a blurry imaging scan. It looked like a whale, or some kind of prehistoric behemoth, with a streamlined body and sides covered in countless holes, trailing a long wake of turbulence. Codename Poseidon, developed by the US DARPA. A deep-sea unmanned underwater vehicle. According to intelligence, it's actually a massive underwater factory, carrying hundreds of drones inside, and possibly equipped with tectonic weapons. An artificial seismic wave generator. Chun Jiangwo slammed the table hard. Those bastards, they want to target our coastal continental shelf, trigger an underwater landslide, and spark a tsunami. If they succeed, the entire coastal economic belt will be submerged. Lin Mo's eyes instantly turned cold. Zhonghai City is where Su Qing lives, and where his broken shop with the new roof is located. Where are our anti-submarine forces? Poseidon is lurking 3,000 meters deep. Our torpedoes can't reach that depth. Depth charges can't lock on either. Its hull is made of special sound-absorbing material. Sonar hits it and finds only dead silence.
3 Kilometers. Lin Montag muttert.
The pressure there is 300 atmospheres. Even if a tank went down, it would be crushed into a metal pancake. Orders are to intercept Poseidon at all costs. Chun Jiangwo looked at Lin Mo. But our current deep-sea submersibles have no attack capability, and those that do can't dive that deep. Lin Mo, your Xuanu 01. It was designed for land and the atmosphere. The ceiling is good, but at 3 kilometers it will definitely leak. Once the circuit shorts, it becomes an iron coffin. The office fell into a desperate silence. Time ticked away second by second. According to calculations, Poseidon has 12 hours left before it reaches the target attack position. Unless Lin Mo suddenly looked up, a familiar spark of madness flickering in his eyes. Unless I don't let the water touch it. Lin Mo stood up and began pacing the room. If I can create a supercavitation shell, that's torpedo technology, using bubbles to wrap an object to reduce drag, but that's dynamic. How could you possibly wrap the entire mecha in bubbles? Lin Mo grabbed a bottle of mineral water from the table and poured it violently onto his sleeve. That's waterproof fabric. The droplets rolled off instantly, leaving no trace behind. If I apply to the mecha's surface a layer of superhydrophobic material combined with a high-pressure steam layer from microwave heating, it's like putting an air raincoat on the mecha. The water pressure is immense, but as long as this air layer doesn't break, water won't touch the mecha's frame. Theoretically, it's possible. Dr. Zhao was calculating frantically beside him. But where do we find such a coating? We need several tons of it, and it must be applied within a few hours. Once done, Lin Mo grinned, showing his white teeth. Dr. Zhao, do you remember my repair shop? What's next door? They sell non-stick pans. Lin Mo pulls out his phone. Teflon coating, plus my secret formula, lotus leaf extract, nano powder. Get me 50 tons of Teflon, and find me 100 spray painters. I'm giving Xian Nu a new outfit. Dr. Zhao feels like his blood vessels are about to burst. You want to use non-stick pan coating to fight the pressure of 3,000 meters deep sea. As long as your mindset doesn't slip, there's always a way around the problem. Lin Mo has already rushed out of the office. Don't just stand there, or my shop will be flooded. The storm is coming. This time, the battlefield is the abyss. The place is brightly lit. Over 100 spray painters in hazmat suits, hanging off the Xian Nu 01 mecha, frantically spraying a grayish-white liquid. The air is filled with a smell like frying eggs. Pungent, burnt scent. Lin Mo stands on the lift platform, holding a giant blow dryer. It's a modified industrial heat gun, quickly drying the coating. Faster, faster. The armpits, spray more under the arms. That's the joint movement area. It wears down easily.
Lin Montag yells.
And the soles of the feet. If we run out of Teflon, go scrape the pans in the cafeteria. Chun Jiangwo standing below, looking at the once majestic red mecha, now turned into a grayish-white, slippery giant gecko. Will this really work? Old man Su Jinhai leaning on his cane, looking worried, looking very worried. This looks a bit like my frying pan coating. It is frying pan coating. Dr. Zhao records the data beside him, looking lifeless. President Lin added graphene powder to it, saying it could increase surface tension. Theoretically, this coating can make the water contact angle 170 degrees. In other words, this mecha is now slipperier than a loach. Report, painting complete. Report, full system seal test passed. Report, anti-gravity engine. A high-pressure steam generator. Tuning complete. Lin Mo throws down the heat gun and finally pats the mecha's knee. The feel is indeed luxurious, too slick to stand. Even flies can't land on it. Buddy, Lin Mo whispers to the mecha, I've taken you to the skies before. Today, I'm taking you to the deep sea to catch turtles. Don't let me down. He flips and jumps into the cockpit. Xian Nu spirit dress activate. Switch to deep sea mode, which is actually just a patch Lin Mo wrote. A patch to limit the maximum speed. Target confirmed. Poseidon. Depth 3,200. Distance 180 nautical miles. Departure. No transport plane this time. The mecha runs directly from the pier, and then takes a leap. A massive splash rises over 10 meters. If it were ordinary steel, it would have sunk to the bottom by now. But after Xian Nu 01 entered the water, a thin layer instantly formed on its surface. A gas film almost invisible to the naked eye. The seawater is isolated by this gas film. The mecha is like being wrapped in a transparent bubble. Diving, the turbine fans at the back rotate in reverse, no longer inhaling air, but using high-pressure electrolysis of seawater to produce hydrogen-oxygen bubbles, creating massive thrust. The mecha is like a grayish-white torpedo, plummeting rapidly toward the abyss. Depth 500 meters. The light vanishes, surrounded by a deathly silent darkness. Only the beams of the mecha's searchlights, like two sharp swords piercing the dark. Depth 1,500 meters. A creaking sound echoes inside the cockpit. That's the metal skeleton under immense water pressure, undergoing deformation, external pressure approaching critical value. Coating integrity 98%. System alarm. Lin Mo glances at the dashboard, calmly chewing gum. Hold steady, we've just started. We're a non-stick pan, we don't feel the itch. Depth 3 kilometers. The seabed here is as desolate as an alien surface. Massive undersea mountains loom in the darkness. Occasionally, a few glowing deep-sea fish swim by curiously, then get scared away by the Mecha's turbulence. Target spotted. Lin Mo stares at the radar screen. Critical. In a trench 5 kilometers ahead lies a massive black shadow. That is Poseidon. It's colossal, 200 meters long, like a sunken aircraft carrier. Now its back opens like a honeycomb.
Countless shark-sized suicide drone
Are swarming out, deploying seismic sources on the seabed. So the bombs were the trick all along.
Lin Montag sneert.
Poseidon seems to have sensed the intruder. At this depth, sound is the keenest sense. Dozens of drones suddenly pivot, like piranhas catching the scent of blood, charging straight at Lin Mo. Want to gang up on me? Lin Mo grips the control levers.
Underwater combat.
I've never trained for it, but this water resistance is perfect for Tai Chi. Come on. The Mecha surges forward, can't leap as flexibly as on land, but thanks to that air film, the drag is minimal. Lin Mo maneuvers the Mecha, executing a strange swimming dragon step, essentially mimicking the wriggle of a loach. The drones crash in, but because the Mecha's surface is too slick, they slide right off, slamming into the rocks behind. Teflon isn't just non-stick, it's collision-proof. Lin Mo seizes the moment. The Mecha's right arm lunges out, snatching a straggler with precision. The mechanical hand crushes it, turning the drone into scrap metal instantly. But there are too many, hundreds, thousands of drones, swarming in a dense cloud, trying to overwhelm the Mecha with sheer numbers.
Lin Montag frowns.
So many flies. I need a fly swatter. He presses the button originally meant for the lightsaber, but number 40-meter beam emerges underwater because Lin Mo removed the focusing lens and replaced it with a shower head. High voltage electrolysis mode. Full power. The Mecha's entire body releases an ultra-high voltage current. The surrounding seawater is instantly electrolyzed. Countless bubbles explode, creating a massive shockwave. This isn't just electricity. This is the undersea version of Chidori. Those swarming drones have their internal circuits fried instantly, raining down like dumplings in a pot. With the minions cleared, Lin Mo looks at the giant boss, Poseidon. Poseidon seems enraged now. Its massive head slowly turns, revealing a pitch-black muzzle. That's no cannon. It's a supercavitation torpedo tube. A heavy supercavitation torpedo, trailing a long wake of bubbles, screams toward the Mecha at a terrifying 200 knots. At this distance, at this speed, it's impossible to dodge. In the command center, Chun Jangwo's heart stops. Lin Mo, get out of there. But Lin Mo doesn't dodge. Instead, he steers the Mecha right into it. Dodging is for cowards. We welders believe in facing it head-on. Just as the torpedo is about to hit the chest, Lin Mo makes a move that baffles everyone. The Mecha suddenly flings its arms wide. The chest armor plates slide open, exposing the core reactor. Actually, it's a battery pack. Microwave magnetron, microwave shield, reverse output. In that instant, the Mecha's chest generates a superheated bubble of steam. The torpedo dives straight into the steam cloud, due to the violent change in medium density. The torpedo's supercavitation bubble bursts, without its cavitation shield. Hitting high-density seawater at this speed is like hitting a concrete wall. 5 meters from the Mecha, the torpedo disintegrates and explodes. A massive shockwave blasts the Mecha back hundreds of meters, slamming it into an undersea cliff. Warning. Shield overload. Coating damaged by 30%. Left arm hydraulic system failure. Red lights flash wildly in the cockpit. Lin Mo is shaken violently, blood trickling down his forehead. Damn. That was intense. Lin Mo wipes the blood away, his eyes growing even more fierce. But you just revealed your weakness. The flash from that explosion illuminated Poseidon's underbelly. There is a massive heat vent there. A massive heat vent, spewing out streams of heat. That's the cooling vent for its nuclear reactor. All I have to do is plug that thing. It'll become a pressure cooker. Can Shen Nu still move? Power remaining 15%. Suggest ascending. Ascend my ass. Charge. The battered mecha crawled out from the rubble. Only one arm could move. Bubbles streamed from every joint. The coating was stripped, like a wounded god of war. It launched a final charge at the deep-sea behemoth. Poseidon clearly didn't expect this little thing to be so stubborn. Tried to turn, to swipe the mecha away with its tail. But Lin Mo didn't dodge this time. He funneled all remaining energy into the thrusters. Go! The mecha became like a nail, driving itself deep into Poseidon's belly. The remaining right arm clung tightly to the massive heat vent. What are you doing? In the command center,
Suzenai screamed in terror.
That's a 1,000-degree heat flow. The mecha will melt. I'm a welder. Melting metal is my specialty. He pressed the red button. This time it was true welding mode. The plasma generator in the right hand roared to full power, blasting directly into the heat vent. Extreme heat against extreme heat. Metal against metal. Thousands of meters beneath the sea. A silent welding surgery unfolded. Weld him shut.
Lin Montag roaret.
Seconds later, a muffled explosion echoed from within Poseidon. Cooling system failure. Core reactor overheat protection triggered. The deep-sea behemoth was instantly paralyzed. Its massive body lost all motion and began to sink slowly, plunging into the deeper abyss. Done. Lin Mo let go, pushed back by the recoil. Xian knew. Report status. Power depleted. Activating emergency ascent airbags. The mecha was now a total wreck. The Teflon coating was long gone. Seawater began leaking into the cockpit. Icy water flooded over Lin Mo's ankles. Kinda cold. Should have worn long johns. He watched Poseidon sink slowly into the darkness. A sense of accomplishment filled his heart.
Hey, Bossu.
He opened the communicator. The signal was intermittent, but he knew she could hear him. I'm tired of eating at the bottom of the sea. Can we change the flavor tonight? I want some hot dry noodles. From the other end of the communicator came Su Qing's heart-wrenching sobs and Chun Jiangwo's emotional roar. Eat. You can eat whatever you want. I'll buy every hot dry noodle shop in China for you. As the emergency airbags inflated, the broken mecha looked like a white ghost, carrying a body full of scars and glory, slowly ascending toward the long-lost, sun-drenched surface. In that deep blue, Lin Mo closed his eyes and fell asleep. This was likely the most peaceful sleep of his life. The feeling of returning to his body was like an old electric scooter finally sparking to life. Lin Mo opened his eyes. He saw a blinding white light. The air lacked the familiar smell of engine oil and the salty stench of the deep sea, replaced by a faint scent of disinfectant and an incredibly rich, overpowering aroma of sesame paste. He's awake! A joyful shout rang in his ear. Lin Mo turned his head with difficulty. His neck gave a sharp crack. The first thing he saw wasn't a doctor or a nurse, but a table piled high with hot dry noodles. Paper bowls, porcelain bowls, takeout boxes, at least 10 portions. Dozens of them, definitely at least 10. The nightstand, originally meant for flowers, was crammed until it nearly collapsed. Is this what you meant by buying out the shop? Lin Mo opened his mouth. His voice was as raspy as sandpaper. You brat. Chun Jiangwo's weathered face leaned in. His eyes were red and swollen, his stubble unshaven, but he was smiling wider than anyone. You've been out for 3 days. In those 3 days, every hot dry noodle owner in China heard you wanted some. They practically wanted to take the high-speed rail overnight to deliver them. These are the finest ones that passed security screening. Lin Mo wanted to laugh, but it tugged at the wound in his chest, making him grimace in pain. What a waste. I only have one mouth. How can I possibly finish this? It's fine if you can't finish it. Just smelling them is enough. Old man Su Jinhai sat in a wheelchair nearby, his legs trembling with excitement, holding a red brocade box in his hands. His eyes filled with kindness, as if looking at his own grandson. Shaolin, you've achieved something monumental this time. A truly legendary feat. Lin Mo propped himself up on the bed, finding himself hooked up to various tubes. What about the Poseidon? Still lying on the seabed. But it belongs to us now. The combat engineers are figuring out how to salvage it. It contains the most core black tech of the Eagle Nation. Although you welded the core reactor into ruins, but the remaining hull and drone technology will keep our research institute busy for 10 years. Lin Mo breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I don't have to pay for it, right? Chen Jiangwo's eyes widened. He then took the brocade box from Su Jinhai, opening it with great solemnity. A glittering, heavy gold medal, laying quietly inside, engraved with the Great Wall and an olive branch, with a red heart in the center. The August 1st medal, the highest honor of the army. This is a fictional plot. Actual awards require strict procedures, specially approved by the military commission. Chen Jiangwo stood straight, though dressed in civilian clothes. His military salute was standard and solemn.
Comrade Lin Montag.
In view of your actions during the East China Sea crisis, and your bravery during the Deep Sea Interception Operation, as well as your breakthrough contributions to national defense technology, you are hereby awarded the August 1st Medal, and are specially appointed as the Chief Engineer of the National Strategic Equipment Development Center, with the rank and privileges of a Deputy Army grade. Lin Mo stared at the medal, completely stunned. He was just a mechanic, at best a skilled one, a mechanic, and suddenly he's a high-ranking officer? Facing the leaders, Lin Mo felt awkward and lost. I never went to a military academy. I don't even have a degree. This isn't according to the rules, is it? Rules are made by men, but talent is a gift from God. Chen Jiangwo pressed the medal into Lin Mo's hand, his tone leaving no room for argument. Your handcrafted mecha tech is the ultimate rule. From this day forward, the state has your back. Weld whatever you want. Even if you want to weld a railing on the moon, we'll approve the funding for it. Lin Mo gripped the medal. The cold touch of the metal reminded him of those rainy nights when he was hammering steel plates alone. He suddenly smiled. It was a bit goofy. Forget the railing on the moon, but I want a bowl of noodles first. The room was cleared of everyone, leaving only one person behind. Su Qing had lost a lot of weight. Her eyes were sunken. Clearly, she hadn't slept for 3 days. Holding a steaming bowl of hot dry noodles, which she had mixed herself, they gazed at each other for a long time. Eat. Su Qing broke the silence, her voice raspy. Eat. Lin Mo took the bowl and began eating ravenously. Sesame paste smeared across his mouth, but he felt this was the best thing he had ever tasted in his life. Watching him devour the food, tears suddenly streamed down her face. Lin Mo, you idiot. Who told you to play the hero? Who told you to dive 3,000 meters deep? Do you know what the doctors said? When they hauled you up, they said your internal organs were crushed to varying degrees. If it had been any later, not even a god could have saved you. He wiped his mouth awkwardly. Well, it was an emergency. Besides, I had Teflon protecting me. I knew what I was doing. Knew what my ass. Su Qing couldn't help but curse. She walked over and punched him hard, but as her fist landed, she softened the blow, turning it into a gentle caress. If you had died, who would have renovated the shop? Who would have collected the final payments? And what would have happened to me? Those last 4 words, light as a sigh.
Lin Montag Frotze.
He might be a straightforward guy, a total tech geek, but he wasn't an idiot. Looking into Su Qing's swollen, red eyes, he suddenly felt that in his life, besides all that cold metal, it seemed he really needed something else to fill the void.
Bosu. Lin Mo suddenly spoke,
His tone becoming exceptionally serious. What is it?
Suin snifled.
Well, you know my craftsmanship. Lin Mo held out his hands, covered in calluses, and riddled with tiny scars. I don't know much about romance, and I'm not good with words, but anything that ends up in my hands, whether it's scrap metal or pure gold, I can fix it and make it one of a kind. He fumbled under the pillow for a moment and pulled out a small metal ring. It wasn't a diamond ring. It was a small piece of titanium alloy tubing he'd salvaged while dismantling the Poseidon core reactor. Then, using plasma sparks, he had burned a circle of brilliant blue-purple patterns onto it. This was taken from the heart of that deep-sea monster. Lin Mo looked at Su Qing. Its melting point is 1,668 degrees, and it's 5 times harder than ordinary steel. He had engraved 2 words on the inner ring. Su Qing took the ring and looked closer. There were microscopic laser engravings on the inside. No returns. No refunds, no backing out. I'm taking this deal for the rest of my life. Lifetime warranty. On call 24/7. Is that acceptable, Boss Su? Su Qing, are you willing to sign for this delivery? Su Qing looked at the ring, a blend of industrial brutalism and exquisite precision. Then she looked at the man in front of her, grinning like an idiot. Suddenly, Her tears turned into a smile. She held out her finger. That depends on how your after-sales service is.
Clumsily, Lin Montag
Slipped the ring onto her ring finger. Fit perfectly. Another miracle of his visual estimation. Deal. Now, as for this ring, can the cost be deducted from the final payment?
Ah, Lin Montag. Lin Montag.
Su Qing's long-lost roar echoed through the ward, accompanied by the sound of their uncontrollable laughter. Outside the window, the sunlight was perfect. Nanshaman Project, a top-secret military base in the northwest Gobi. This place was 10 times larger than the workshop from a year ago. Inside the massive hangar were parked various strange-looking aircraft and mechanical devices. A giant red banner hung on the wall, warmly celebrating the successful progress of the first phase of the Nanshaman project. Wearing the chief designer's uniform, though his buttons were still often mismatched, Lin Mo stood with his hands behind his back, atop a high scaffold, lecturing a group of miserable-looking PhD students below. How many times do I have to tell you? The coils of that anti-gravity engine cannot be wound too neatly. If they're too neat, the magnetic field will resonate, and it'll blow up. It needs to be messy that kind of ordered chaos feeling, like a ball of yarn your cat has played with. Understand? The PhD students below scribbled notes frantically. Yarn ball played with by a cat? Ordered chaos. Non-linear topological structure. In 1 year, Lin Mo had become a living legend here. He no longer tightened every screw by hand, because the state had actually assigned him a whole regiment of assistants. But he remained the soul of the operation. Any engineering problem that couldn't be solved, as long as he went over, touched it, listened, and tapped it a few times, he was guaranteed to find the root cause. The current Xuannu series mechs had already reached the 3rd generation of mass production. From the original rescue type, derivatives like deep-sea and aerial combat types emerged, and there were even engineering types, specifically for infrastructure. The Eagle Nation had completely calmed down, ever since the Poseidon was captured on the spot and publicly displayed. Though they claimed it was an ancient shipwreck, they withdrew all their forward deployments and began obsessively researching why China's Teflon coating could withstand deep-sea pressure. Word has it their scientists have bought up every non-stick pan in the world, frantically frying food at home to conduct experiments. Chief Lin, someone is here to see you. They say they're an old customer. Old customer?
Lin Montag pauset.
He brushed the dust off his hands and followed Dr. Zhao to the base's main reception room. Pushing open the door, Su Qing was sitting on the sofa, sipping tea. She was now the chairwoman of Su Heavy Industries, in full charge of the civilian supply chain for the National Mech Project. She wore that blue-purple titanium alloy ring. Her aura was far more powerful than a year ago, and beside her sat a middle-aged man in a Zhongshan suit. Though he wore a smile, his eyes held a majesty that seemed to command the universe. Chief Lin, it's been a long time. Su Qing set down her teacup and greeted him with a smile. Wife dash.
Chairwoman Su.
Lin Mo quickly corrected himself, since there was an outsider present. What brings you here? The house renovations are finished. Su Qing pointed to the middle-aged man beside her. This is Director Zhang. He's in charge of the National Strategic Aerospace Projects. He has a small order, and he wants to ask you about it. Aerospace. Lin Mo's interest was piqued. He pulled out a chair and sat down. How big is the order? If it's just a satellite bracket or something, Dr. Zhao can handle it. Director Zhang smiled faintly. He pulled a thick document from his briefcase and pushed it toward Lin Mo. The cover read 4 bold words. Project Luan Bird. Chief Engineer Lin, we heard you have great expertise in large-scale models. This time, we want to make a slightly larger aircraft model. Lin Mo opened the file. He glanced at the parameters on the first page. Project name, Strategic Aerospace Carrier Platform. Code name, Luan Bird. Total length, 242 meters. Wingspan, 682 meters. Power source, dual-core fusion reactor, enhanced anti-gravity engines, carrying capacity, 88 aircraft, Xuannu aerospace fighters, operational altitude, 40,000 meters, up to low Earth orbit. Lin Mo's hand trembled. Over 200 meters long. Low Earth orbit. This is a damn aerospace carrier. Is this even a model anymore? Nominally, Director Zhang winked, an expression exactly like Lin Mo's back in the day. It's mainly for meteorological observation. After all, we need to monitor global climate change. Fly a bit higher, carry a bit more, last a bit longer. Perfectly reasonable, right? Meteorological observation.
Lin Mo laughed.
This is even more ridiculous than his rescue robot. Well, Chief Engineer Lin? Su Qing added fuel to the fire from the side. Director Zhang said, the budget for this project is unlimited, and every single material will be the absolute best. The welding of the core keel can only be done by you. Lin Mo closed the file. He closed his eyes. He envisioned the scene in his mind. A colossal steel behemoth blotting out the sky, floating above the clouds. Countless Shen new fighters swarming in and out like bees. The pinnacle of human industry, the ticket to the sea of stars. And all of this must begin with the very first weld. That long-lost impulse that makes the blood boil surged through his heart once again. Lin Mo snapped his eyes open. His gaze was brighter than the titanium ring on his finger. But let me be clear first. This thing is too big. It won't fit in my lab. Don't worry. Look over there. Lin Mo turned his head. At the edge of the Gobi Desert, a steel shipyard as massive as a mountain was rising from the earth. Tens of thousands of workers scurried like ants. Giant cranes pierced the heavens. The nest the nation had prepared for the Luan bird. Epilogue. 3 months later, sparks flew inside the gargantuan shipyard. Lin Mo wore his old, chipped welding helmet. In his hand, a custom welding torch glowing like a lightsaber. Standing atop the keel, tens of meters high. Chief Engineer Lin, all parameters have been calibrated. You may begin welding. Dr. Zhao's excited voice came through the headset. Lin Mo took a deep breath. He looked down. The single beam that would carry the soaring dreams of a nation. The titanium alloy keel. Honey, don't wait for me for dinner tonight. Tonight, I'm welding a road to the future for our country. A blinding blue-violet electric arc ignited, instantly illuminating the entire shipyard and lighting up Lin Mo's focused, fervent eyes. The radiance belonging only to a Chinese mastercraft.